All right, what's going on, everyone? Looks like we're live. Once again, we have another debate set up with a Penguinz0, aka Moist Critical, aka Charlie fan. Yeah, like always, he just reached out to me on Twitter asking for a debate about veganism. What's your stance specifically? You said for the most part you agreed with Charlie on his stance on veganism.
Well, my stance on veganism as a whole is that there is no real moral or ethical argument against veganism. It's quite an easy moral high ground to take. And again, I don't disagree that eating non-animal products is a bad thing. I think more people should do that. My actual stance with regards to the debate is regarding your specific form of activism and how I think that personally driving more people away from veganism or shaming people into doubling down on eating meat.
Okay, there's basically two propositions you're making. Is that one, there's not really any real ethical argument for veganism, and it's
No,
really
I agree with veganism.
you agree with veganism.
Yes, I do.
Okay,
I just don't think your forms of argumentation are very sound. And if I'd like to go through them with you if you're okay with that.
wait, are you're not vegan, right?
No, I'm not vegan.
Okay, so you wouldn't consider veganism a moral obligation? Like you wouldn't say you're morally obligated to follow a vegan lifestyle, abstain from eating meat?
But in doing so, I also don't have any issue with who who takes that dietary position. I don't.
Sure, but I'm just asking you. Crap, I should have gotten some water. I'm just asking you. You don't think it's a moral obligation to follow a vegan lifestyle?
No.
Okay, and you have an issue with my methods of vegan activism. You think I push more
Yeah,
people away?
your specific forms of argumentation. I can relate them back to your
Sure,
video
sure,
responses to Charlie, if you'd like.
sure. Let's go over it.
Okay, so I'll start by posing you a hypothetical. So, with regards to your video response to Charlie, you called him a hypocrite because he had an issue with a Chinese, I believe it was, mukbanger who was
No,
torturing
she's South Korean.
South Korean. My apology. South Korean mukbanger who was torturing animals in videos and consuming them, sometimes live. And you called him a hypocrite because he was also consuming meat. Do you not see the moral distinction? Somebody having an issue with torturing an animal or abusing an animal and consuming meat.
Okay, well, you can make moral distinctions. Like, there are just differences in the whole situation. Like, she's doing this live on camera, or not live, but she's doing this on camera in front of an audience for everyone to see. She's doing it shamelessly. You could argue she is normalizing this sort of action, like, oh, it's okay to like torture sea creatures, especially since she's doing it in front of an audience of children. Well,
Yeah.
by the same token, I could say, okay, well, Charlie's just paying people to do what are essentially the same actions, if not worse. I could easily make an argument that a chicken suffers more throughout the course of its entire lifetime than these creatures suffer for the few minutes that So Young fucks with them. So the months, or
Yeah,
in
but
some cases, sorry.
do you understand the disconnect? Personally abusing.
Okay, wait. Personally abusing animals versus paying someone else to do it for you.
Well, no, there's a difference because when you're consuming meat, you're not buying the
Wait a second. Repeat
when
that.
you when you're buying the meat, you're not buying the meat under the proviso that, oh, this meat was tortured for me to have eaten.
Okay, well, when you're well aware that this is commonplace in the industry, how can you say that?
Well, again, you're acting under the assumption that everybody is well aware that this is
Okay, well,
place.
Charlie is. Charlie is well aware. So when I
Yeah,
call him a hypocrite,
Charlie's in favor of veganism. He actually
right? So
agrees
when I
with meat
call him a
substitutes.
hypocrite, you'd say that you would agree that's entirely justified, since he's well aware of what happens in these industries.
Well,
So
no,
how is
because
it
again,
wrong of me to
because
call him a
because
hypocrite?
because again, I see a moral distinction between you personally torturing You eat.
Well, look, if you're going to use this argument of ignorance, well, most people don't know that, animals are horrifically abused in these industries.
But
Well, I could say So Young
that is the
doesn't know.
truth, though.
Well, I could say So Young doesn't know
But
that these animals are
but
sentient and
see,
they feel horrific pain. Maybe she wouldn't be
but
doing
but
this if she understood that these
but
animals don't feel pain. So how
but
is
Sue
that a
Young is
moral
the
distinction?
Sue Young is the one personally and physically doing it. So
Okay,
how can
so
you say that?
okay, well, wait, is okay, so no, you're saying ignorance is
You
the
can't,
factor here.
you can't claim ignorance for someone who doesn't understand where the meat has come from to someone who's physically torturing them before they eat it.
Well, no, there
There's
are
a
some
big
people
difference
who
there.
don't believe sea life is sentient. So she might be under the assumption that, oh, it's no different than like gutting a fish or,
Well,
well,
again,
I believe fish are sentient.
you have to actually break it down into the different sea life. For instance,
Well, I
octopi are just as
understand.
sentient as dogs.
Well, I understand, but
She
she might not understand that, and you have to keep in mind too. She's from South Korea. They have very different. They have a very different culture and cultural beliefs on, what animals are sentient, what animals can think and feel. Like a lot of
Okay,
people
well,
don't know this. Well, look, a lot of
look, I
people don't know
think
this, but it's not just China that eats dogs. South Koreans also eat dogs. They have different. They just have different cultural standards on how they see animals, and it might be the case that South Koreans don't recognize octopi and squid as being sentient, and if she did know that, she wouldn't be doing this. So again, I could say, oh well, So Young's ignorant of this, so how can you criticize her in such a way, calling her a piece of shit, calling her fans pieces of shit, when maybe her and her fans aren't aware that octopi and squid are sentient and they, suffer horribly when she's doing this to her. So
well,
I don't.
for
Okay,
a
we'll go
start,
on.
for a start, I've never personally attacked Sue Young. I've never really spoken out
Okay, well,
against it.
Charlie
Well,
has.
yeah, and again, I don't think taking a stance against Charlie, having an issue with that is the correct thing to do. Why don't you actually just join him against her?
Okay, well, I am against her, but at the same time, I'm against what he's doing by eating meat. I don't see a significant moral distinction between
Okay, well,
paying.
can I pose you a hypothetical?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so for instance, me personally, I do consume meat. If I were to be walking down the street and I saw a man, say, beating a dog, and I were to walk over and try and put a stop to that, am I therefore a hypocrite by your logic?
No.
Okay, good. So Charlie has an issue with a woman who's abusing animals.
Sure.
Now, the man I'm referring to, he could take the same stance. Well, I don't believe the dog is, but either way, I think that Charlie therefore thinks that her abusing sea creatures. So you don't think I'm a hypocrite? Where's the hypocrisy on Charlie's end?
He is paying. Okay, well, look, it's
So am I.
Okay, well, look, the way you phrased this was, I don't know, it led me down a
So
path.
if I boil it down to its most simple premise, I eat meat, but I also don't agree with a singular person physically abusing an animal. You'll come back to that with that does not make me a hypocrite. That's the same stance that Charlie
Okay,
has.
well, look, it does. It absolutely does. Like, look, if you're against animal abuse, then why are you supporting the meat industry when it is inherently abusive?
Well, again, we can boil it down to the different levels of sentience within animals and the reasons why people make certain distinctions between one animal and another. I mean, we can move into that if you'd like.
Okay, well, we can. I think we should do that later, though, because there's still some discussion to be had about this topic of
Well,
hypocrisy.
I personally think we're at an impasse here. I don't think
No,
you're
we're
going to
not.
agree
No,
with me.
we haven't exhausted this discussion. So you don't think
Why would you
Charlie
want
was
to
at all?
exhaust the discussion?
No, wait. Do you think Charlie? You're saying Charlie wasn't being a hypocrite when he criticized So Young?
No.
Okay. Do you think he was a hypocrite when he criticized me?
Well, it depends on his point of you're referring
Okay.
to.
Well, so he called So Young a piece of shit, called her followers pieces of shit, called her content absolutely garbage. Basically said, if you enjoy her content, you're a brain dead moron, and she's a brain dead moron, right? And he did all of this because he disagreed with how she was treating animals. And I'm not going to say he was wrong in saying that. I totally agree with him on that. But that's what he said. Now,
Yep.
all I did with Charlie was I said, Charlie, you're being a hypocrite. You're criticizing her for abusing animals, but you're also supporting animal abuse with the food you're eating, particularly the KFC chicken he bought. Now, at the end, I said, like, look, if you're going to call So Young a piece of shit, you have to look in the mirror. I was way less harsh with how I criticized Charlie. And the reason for that is because, there's an assumption that, maybe he hasn't thought of this much. Like, there are people who are kind of aware of how animals are treated in the animal agriculture industry, but they just haven't thought about it. So I'm not going to rail on Charlie as hard as Charlie railed on So Young, because again, there, as an adult, like there is an assumption made that you should recognize this as being wrong. Cultural differences with her being South Korean aside, she should know that it's wrong to do this sort of thing. So I think it makes total sense, to rail on her super hard. But I went easy on Charlie. So how did Charlie react to that? Oh, you're making vegans look bad. You're being mean. You're being too judgmental. So who was the one being extremely mean, rude, judgmental here? Was it me or Charlie?
Okay, well, I would respond to that by saying Charlie is already somewhat on your side. In fact, I think he actually favours your argument. He favours veganism far more than most people, but in by you calling him a hypocrite for calling out someone who's torturing, doesn't that then paint that as a negative? So
No,
like,
look, at the beginning of my video, I applauded him for speaking out against animal abuse, and in my second follow-up video, I think I also stated, like Charlie misconstrued my opinion on it. I stated that, like, look, regardless of your past or present actions, no matter what you do, it's always good to speak out against animal abuse. But look, if you're supporting animal abuse while speaking out against it, then that's just hypocritical. So I'm going to criticize anyone if they support animal abuse, but I'm going to applaud anyone if they speak out against it. So I don't see what the issue is there. But isn't it
somewhat of a backhanded compliment when you also call them a hypocrite in the same breath?
No. Like, look, well, the fact is he's supporting animal abuse, and if he's going to speak out against animal abuse while supporting it, that is hypocrisy. And I'm, as a vegan, as somebody who's against all forms of animal abuse, I'm going to criticize anyone who's supporting it, regardless of whether or not they're doing it on a mukbang channel or when they buy KFC chicken. So look, my point is, like, you're trying to paint this picture of vegans being hostile, aggressive, judgmental. When Charlie was doing that exact thing.
Let me just state right now my standpoint on that. I don't think vegans as a whole are hostile or aggressive.
Sure.
I think certain vegans are, and there's plenty of video documentation to prove that. But most vegans, from what I know quite a few vegans. My sister is vegan. They keep themselves to themselves, and they just enjoy what they enjoy. Hold that again.
Okay, I kind of have a problem with that statement of there are some vegans who are hostile and aggressive. Well, there's some meat eaters that are hostile and aggressive. Look how...
Of course there are.
Well, I mean, look at how slaughterhouse workers treat animals, even how farmers treat their animals. When vegans do peaceful activism...
That wasn't the point I made.
Sure. I just don't want this thing... I just don't want this perception to be promoted that, oh, only vegans are hostile and aggressive... Even if you,
I just said that most vegans aren't hostile and aggressive.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm agreeing with you.
Well, no. I'm just saying, just to clarify. Even if we're going to say like only some vegans are hostile and aggressive, well, there are some meat eaters who are hostile and aggressive. It doesn't only,
yeah, of course
they are.
It's a negative trait no matter which way you slide it. So yeah. So as I say.
Do you think this? Okay, so do you think this criticism that Charlie, brought against me, that I'm being too judgmental by calling him a hypocrite, but he? Do you think that's like going too far? Me calling him a hypocrite for doing this?
Well, no, I don't think it's going too far. You're perfectly able to call anyone. But what I'm saying is that I don't calling someone a hypocrite as they are speaking out the right way to go about it. As I say, you're complimenting him, yet you're calling him a hypocrite in breath.
Okay, why is that an issue?
Well, as I say, it somewhat turns the compliment to a backhanded compliment. I just don't think it's the right way to go about it. I mean, there's some perfectly valid. Okay, so
Well,
with
well,
regard
look, this is like essentially a mind
again,
reading
that's that.
criticism. You're just
This is why I think we've hit an impasse. I don't think. It's, I don't think this is a valuable conversation. I think we should move on.
okay. Sure, we can move on, but let me just say one last thing about this. Like, look, if Charlie's going to criticize me for being hostile, rude, aggressive, too judgmental, and then at the same time call somebody like So Young a piece of shit, her fans pieces of shit,
Yeah,
go
but
on this like really.
he draws a moral distinction
That's
between
fine.
what
Well,
Soo
well,
Young
that's
does and
fine.
what he does.
We can.
But
Well, look.
you're
Well, look.
ignoring his moral distinction.
Well, look, I'm not ignoring his moral distinction. My point is that
Okay.
regardless of where these moral distinctions are made, he believes So Young is doing something wrong. I believe he is doing something wrong.
Do you
So,
believe that one is worse?
we can actually discuss that coming up. I would say it's hard
You could
to
just answer the
determine
question.
which is worse. I would say it's hard to determine which is worse. One is worse in some ways, one is worse in other ways. Now, the thing is, he was criticizing someone for doing something wrong. I was criticizing him for doing something wrong. Now, he's trying to just deflect criticism by saying, I'm being too harsh and judgmental, but he can act whatever way he wants when he criticizes someone for when he sees somebody doing something wrong. So the hypocrisy on Charlie's part isn't just with him promoting animal rights while supporting animal abuse. It's also with how he reacts to any kind of criticism with,
Well, yeah, he's a YouTuber. What do you expect?
well, yeah.
It's what YouTubers
like
do.
I just wanted to go over. Well, I just wanted to mention this because you were like again, your argument kind of falls under the same line that you shouldn't be able to criticize somebody for their choice of eating meat. It's not something that's like a moral obligation.
I never said
Well,
that.
I know you didn't say those exact words, but
I didn't
why
say
don't
anything
we?
close to that.
Okay, well, whatever. Maybe I misinterpreted then.
Okay.
So why don't we just go into the next topic of how we make these moral distinctions? What's the moral distinction between what So Young is doing, torturing these animals on camera, eating them, and like Charlie going to KFC, buying a bucket of KFC chicken?
Well, again, if you yourself are physically tortured, I believe that makes you a worse person. Benefiting from said torture of animal, and you also have to draw the distinction between why is she torturing the animal. She's torturing the animal on a YouTube channel for
entertainment.
Do you think that the people in the slaughterhouses are doing it?
Yeah, they are. They absolutely are, and I can prove it.
Okay, well, again, if you want to claim that the workers in the slaughterhouse are morally objectionable and that they take pleasure in torturing, you can make that argument. And in all fairness, from some of the videos I've seen, I disagree with you. But the point is, they're not doing it for the sole purpose, are they? She is.
No, they are. No, they are. People in slaughterhouses.
Well, no,
they're
doing it for the purpose of selling the meat.
Okay, well, they're not doing it. No. The people who work in slaughterhouses, they do often end up torturing animals for their own pleasure and satisfaction. So, no, that's totally false to claim, well, oh, this is just some sort of unintentional thing that happens when you're trying to produce meat. No.
Yeah, but
they intentionally do this.
Okay, so you're okay. So you're sorry, my friend just met.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
So what you're saying is that the worker in the slaughterhouse who's killing the animal for purposes of slaughter, butchery, sale of them. So that the actual entertainment value he garners is the sole purpose for the slaughterhouse as a whole.
No. Look, the purpose of the slaughterhouse. Well, look. The purpose of the slaughterhouse is to provide a product, but I'm saying the reason you'll find a lot of slaughterhouse workers torturing these animals is because these are very stressful work environments. Not only do they have like long work hours, their work is dangerous, but these animals also fight back against them because they're live animals. They're like, they don't want to be killed. So what ends up happening is like chickens will peck at them, pigs will bite them, they might not want to move. And then because they're on like these deadlines, they have to get a certain amount of animals through, they get yelled at by their boss to fucking get things moving. They end up getting super stressed out, and one way to relieve that stress is to torture these animals. So, like in the video that I made with about Charlie, I actually showed some video clips, and I can actually screen share if you
Hi everyone.
like
Oh, I've
if
seen
you've
the
already
video
seen
with
it,
regards to
whatever.
slaughterhouses.
Yeah, if you've already seen it, then whatever. Like people, like there's video footage of people hanging multiple chickens on one hook, like literally ripping their heads off while they're still fully conscious, not cutting their heads up, literally ripping their heads off. They intentionally
Okay.
like smash these chickens against like the
Okay.
wall or against a table to break their backs and shit when they're struggling. They do this
Okay,
for the
Richard,
purpose of personal pleasure,
can
satisfaction, and entertainment.
there are a few distinctions that we need to draw here with regards to, like, because I totally agree the way that for instance battery farmed hen, the slaughterhouse cattle industry in America is somewhat, well, it's not entirely abhorrent, but you also have to make the distinction between certain meat products don't come from those environments. So do you see eating meat in and of itself to be morally abhorrent?
Yeah, absolutely. I made that as an argument in my video that there's no way to nicely or humanely murder an animal. So regardless of how it's done, it's immoral.
Okay, so say if you were to have, because these farms do exist in the UK, you have a farm that cultivates the animal, gives it a naturally long life, slaughters its life. Do you see that morally abhorrent?
Wait, what did you say?
Okay, so there are farms you can breed and give them a long, natural, healthy life, and then towards the end of their life, kill and butcher. Do you see that on the same level as a slaughter?
Yeah, if they're murdering the animals, like, yeah.
It's not murder. It's not murder.
It is murder.
No.
What makes it not murder?
Well, the law of murder only applies to. So
well, now you're just playing. No, dude, this is a red herring. This is a red herring. You're just using one definition of murder. No, you're using an anthropocentric legal definition of murder. You can find definitions of murder that aren't anthropocentric. It just refers to wanton killing.
What if I disagree with those definitions?
Okay, what? Sorry, I'm arguing that killing an animal is inherently wrong. I'm using the word murder, which can be applied here. I could use a definition of murder that isn't anthropocentric, that doesn't have anything to do with our legal system. Like, dude, if we're going to use a legal definition of murder, well, then I could say Hitler didn't kill a single Jew. Because according to German law at the time, you're not murdering Jews. It's not possible. They're not even human. They don't have souls. So did Hitler?
According to German law, but not
according to German law. Right.
Again,
wait. At one point, it was legal to keep slaves, and it wasn't considered murder to kill one of your slaves. So during that time, are you saying slave owners never murdered a single slave?
Western society.
This is why. Well, look, dude, this is why you can't refer to some sort of legal definition of murder. It's ridiculous, and it's a total red herring.
Okay.
We're just derailing the whole conversation. Like, my point is, you're needlessly killing an animal that wants to live. Doesn't matter what definition I use.
Look, if you have a different definition of murder to me, that's fine. But let's take a step back and not get into a word salad.
Okay, sure. So again, my position is it is morally wrong to kill a sentient animal that has a will to live.
Okay. Well, where do you draw the line on sentient?
Okay, if it has a brain, nervous system, it has the structures that are required for sentience to experience some sort of subjective feeling.
Like you understand that most of Western society already draws a moral distinction certain species.
Sorry, what?
To their level of, sorry, I'll slow down a little. You understand that most of Western society already draws moral distinctions for a certain regards to their level of.
Do you know what sentience is?
I do.
Yeah, it's the ability to subjectively experience. That's what it is. Just the ability to have a subjective experience. It has nothing to do with intelligence. Like, and look, we slaughter pigs. Are pigs less sentient and intelligent than dogs?
Sentience than dogs.
How would you know?
Exactly the same point.
Wait, sorry, you're saying pigs are not as sentient as dogs?
No, I was agreeing with you. They are as sentient as dogs.
Okay.
Also.
Okay.
Difference being is that obviously we as humans need symbiotic contracts with dogs. We don't have that with.
Wait, what did you mention?
Well, we as human beings, we've developed over the course of our history symbiotic relations with dogs and other canines that we
Okay.
pigs.
Okay.
It's the reason that we in West.
Right. Okay. So why is it okay to kill a pig?
Well, again, like as I say, if the social contract we drew with dogs with pigs, we wouldn't be killing pigs, we killing dogs. Again, I'm not saying
So
it is okay. I'm not saying it is okay to kill a pig. I'm just saying that
I know the
killing.
reason why we kill pigs. I'm just asking you, why is it like why is it morally acceptable to kill a pig?
Well, it's where the society draws. Society doesn't deem pigs not to be on the same as dogs.
So wait, like, are you saying that it's morally acceptable to kill something as long as society as a whole agrees that it's morally acceptable?
Well, if it's been deemed a societal norm, then yes.
Okay, so it's okay to kill gay people.
Well, gay people have we have gay rights here. Okay, so
Okay, so
okay,
it's
kill gay
okay.
people.
So if you live in Saudi Arabia, it's morally acceptable to kill gay people. You wouldn't like protest their culture.
I do protest their culture. Well, I protest protest the fact that they kill homosexuals.
Okay, then why are you making this argument if you're not going to
Because
agree that culture?
gay people are human beings. I make it.
Okay, well, wait. You just made the argument that cultural norms determine right or wrong. Well, it's a cultural norm to murder gay people in places like Saudi Arabia. So if that's their
Well,
cultural norm, then it's not morally wrong.
we're moving into a different topic
No, we're
conversation.
not.
And what you're arguing now, essentially, um, it's morally correct. Saudi Arabia homosexuals. I don't in Western society, immoral and illegal to kill homosexuals. So the argument there is we deem ourselves above said Arabian society. So if you want me to if you want to draw these lines, there are cannibals. There are still cannibal tribes that exist.
Yeah.
But again, I'm against those cannibal tribes as well. Like, there's no point in this argument. It's completely defunct. It's disingenuous.
No, it's not. Look,
It is.
if you're going to use cultural norms as a justification to,
But
like, as a moral justification,
do you see Western culture and Western society as more moral as a whole than Saudi Arabian culture?
yeah, absolutely.
Yes, so do I.
Okay. So how? No, my question is, how the hell can you say that cultural norms morally justify
Because I
something?
disagree. Because I disagree with their culture, and I believe our culture to be above the Saudi Arabian culture that deems homosexuality illegal and therefore executable. Do you not see the difference?
Okay, no. There are things within Western culture that you could point to that are bad. So just because it's a cultural norm, that doesn't
Okay,
mean it's
name one.
morally acceptable.
Okay, name one, and we'll go through a couple. Just
Okay,
as a
let's say, okay, capital punishment. It is legal, at least in some places in the United States. And I would say that's morally wrong for several reasons. For one thing, the idea that a government, a state, has the right to murder its own citizens, I see that as fucked up. It also interferes with other rights that you have, a right to a fair trial. It's often the case in murder trials where years down the line, new evidence comes forward to either absolve someone of the crime, or perhaps it makes the crime a lesser degree. So rather than it being first degree
yeah,
murder, it's second degree murder. So murdering
I'm
somebody
aware.
interferes with other rights. So this is something that a lot of people in Western culture think is morally acceptable, capital punishment. But just because it's a cultural norm, just because it's
But do you,
legal, that doesn't make
but
it
do you
morally
see,
acceptable.
okay, but do you see the difference between a court deeming a supposed serial killer to be punishable by death? Do you see the difference between that murdering a homosexual?
Well, yes, but that's not what we're fucking
Okay, so
arguing. We're
no, no, no,
arguing
no, no,
about
no.
whether or not cultural
Yeah,
norms make something morally acceptable.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
changing
But
the argument again.
my point is that one is far more acceptable than the other, which is why
That
it's
doesn't
still legal
matter.
in certain.
That doesn't
Now listen,
matter.
let me finish my
Okay, so
point.
then you agree that culture doesn't determine whether or not something's morally acceptable. We develop these things through reasoning, logic, through just gaining empathy for other people or other things. Like
And
if moral
there is a percentage of there is a percentage of Western population that agrees with capital punishment, and there is a percentage
Yeah, there
that
is.
disagrees, and
Absolutely.
we are free to debate that topic.
Well, and look, there's a percentage of people in Saudi Arabia who disagree with gays being murdered. So, like, you're basically admitting to my point that cultural norms don't make something morally acceptable. So,
No,
how
I'm
can
not.
you use that as an argument?
No, I'm not.
You
I'm not.
literally are just agreeing with my position that cultural norms do not make something morally acceptable.
Well, it depends on your stance of said culture. Do you not understand the difference between
No,
one
no, it
culture and
doesn't.
another?
Okay, well,
Yeah, it
look,
does.
it doesn't even
Entirely does.
fucking matter. Look, it doesn't even fucking matter. If you're going to agree with my position that, yeah, there are people within a culture that disagree with these norms can change, then clearly,
Yeah. So
cultural
what
norms
you
don't dictate what is right or wrong. That's all I'm arguing. And then
yeah.
you just break off into red
Therefore,
herrings about, okay, well, killing gays is different than killing a serial killer. That's not what I'm
well,
arguing.
it is that again. You're missing my point, but I don't think.
What's your point?
Well, again, my point is that in Western society we have people that agree with said, or people that disagree with said social norm, and I don't have an objection to either.
Oh, okay, wait. So you're saying appeal to the majority? That's what dictates
Don't
moral.
start pulling out fallacy. Do this all.
No, no.
You,
Well, that's what you just said. You just said if is that what you're arguing? If a majority
no, it's
of the
not. It's not even
population
what. It's not
agrees
even
with
what I'm
some sort of
arguing. This is
norm,
just one of your go-tos that you move to. All.
what are you?
Can I?
Sure, go on.
Well,
Explain.
do you understand? Do you understand what a fallacy is?
Okay, explain. What's a fallacy?
Okay, so a fallacy is that you take the standpoint that if an argument contains a fallacy, therefore disproven, that in and of itself is a logical fallacy. It's called the fallacy.
Let me look that up.
Like pointing out that something has a fallacy does not disprove
Okay,
it as a
well, wait. Okay, you're misconstruing that, and I think you're misconstruing my argument. So, a fallacy is a logical fallacy that occurs when someone assumes that if an argument contains a logical fallacy, we're assuming it's an informal logical fallacy, by the way, then its conclusion must necessarily be wrong. That's not what I'm saying.
Well, you move to appeal to the majority fallacy.
That's what you were arguing.
No, it wasn't what I was.
Okay, you mentioned the majority of a population share the same moral belief. So
no. I argued the point that there is a percentage of the population that agrees with that disagrees with capital. That's
okay.
The point that I make. I don't have an issue with either position. I don't actually particularly. I haven't looked into it. I don't really care that much. Maybe
okay, and look, if the majority of the population still supported slavery, let's say, slavery never went away, would you disagree with the majority of the population on slavery?
Yes.
Okay, so then social norms.
But again,
these social norms don't dictate morality.
You're arguing slavery against capital punishment. The two are. It's a full.
That has nothing to do with my argument. The argument that we were having was whether or not these sorts of social norms make something morally acceptable, and you're agreeing with me that they don't. So I think we can move on from here. I'm not comparing slavery versus murder versus eating meat. You were arguing that these sorts of social norms make it morally acceptable to do something. I argued against that. Now you're just agreeing with me.
My argument was that the reason we slaughter pigs, dogs, because we see it as socially acceptable as society.
Right, and I agree with that.
I didn't take a position for or against. You just assumed my position.
Well, no, I asked you. I asked you what is the reason you think it's morally acceptable, and then you went on to explain this. So you just weren't being clear.
Yeah, and I draw a distinction between humans and animals, and I also draw further space intelligent.
Okay, so do you eat foods like pork, beef, chicken, those three basic foods?
Yes.
Okay, so you eat all those.
Hmm.
You'll have bacon, sausages, steak, burgers, chicken breast, deep fried chicken, all that shit.
Yes.
Okay, so what's the moral justification for eating those foods, supporting these industries that exploit, abuse, and kill animals?
Well, okay. I'll just go with the most basic. I don't particularly care.
Okay, so if you didn't care about murdering people, would that be a moral justification to
I,
murder
I
somebody?
draw a huge I draw a huge dis-
Okay, well, you just said you don't care. So if you don't care, if you don't personally care, is that a moral justification to kill something, whether it be human or animal?
Well, you have to take into account that.
Well, look, I could say I'm a sociopath. I just don't care about anything. Does that make it okay for me to kill whoever, whatever I want?
But you're not.
Sorry?
I said no, it doesn't. But you're not a
Okay,
sociopath,
so,
are you?
okay, cool. So, well, actually, I do fall under the spectrum of antisocial personality disorders. You don't know me. Um, so, secondly, or
Well, so
not secondly,
you're saying you are a sociopath.
I've never been formally diagnosed, but I can say with a pretty high degree of certainty that I
Okay,
would
so
probably
if
fit within. I would probably
if
fit within the spectrum.
if you are a sociopath, why should I hold any of your any of your opinions to any regard?
Because my own personal feelings have nothing to do with my fucking arguments.
Well, you're sociopath. I mean, do you care about humans at all?
Well, yes, and it's not
Which
because I
which
have any empathy towards them.
Okay,
Do you
so
know what
where
sociopathy is?
do you?
It's just simply a lack of. It's just
It's a lack of
a lack
empathy.
of empathy.
The
I
difference
don't need to
between
have
the difference.
empathy towards something to actually care about it. I don't need to actually feel empathy. Empathy is just an emotion. I can understand
I know
that
this.
other people have feelings and can think and feel. It's just
Do
that
you
I
have
don't
sympathy,
actually
Richard?
care. Sorry?
Do you have sympathy?
Um, very lacking in human beings, but I've kind of trained myself to act as though I have
Okay,
it.
this is a question I've actually wanted to ask. Do you respect humanity as a species?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Now, are you?
What
I'm
does
sure
this
that you
have to do
understand.
with the argument?
Well, I'll get onto it. I'm sure you understand that as a species that we cultivated and therefore subjugated, domesticated to be beasts of burden, led us into industrial form,
Okay.
technological advancement
Okay,
we have
so we
today.
have to keep killing
Would you?
chickens for no reason
Would you?
because.
But would you have preferred that not to have happened?
Okay, dude, I don't care. This has nothing to do with the fucking argument of whether or not we
Okay,
should continue. You're just making an appeal to tradition now. So because we did it in the past, we should keep doing it? Guess what?
well,
The American slave trade, no, the American slave trade made the US economy as strong as it is. Should we keep practicing slavery because before it worked out well for us? What the fuck does it matter? Like what we did in our
well,
past? You're just making an appeal to
my
tradition.
point is that strong arguments were made against slavery, which led to its abolition. Do you have any stronger arguments with regards to veganism that you can posit to a person who isn't a vegan, other than it's immoral?
Yeah. So, have you
I
ever
mean, you have
heard?
health
Have you ever
benefits.
heard of name the trait?
Yeah, it's a ludicrous form of argumentation. But yeah,
It's
we can go
ludicrous. It's
we can go
ludicrous.
down this
Okay,
road if
well
you want.
let's go through it. So I would
Okay.
argue that animal rights, they're just an extension of human rights. For the same reason we grant rights to human beings,
Okay.
we should also
I dis-
grant rights to animals, because
And I
animals are
disagree.
sentient beings that have a will to live. We should grant animals a right to live just as we do as human beings. So I challenge you to name one trait that is lacking in an animal that, if also lacking in a human being, would justify killing and eating a human being.
Well, okay, I'll go with the standard that most people go with. Humanity. They are
Okay, they're human. Define humanity.
well, they're humanity. A multitude of traits come together to form.
Okay, then list them.
list them. Compassion.
Wait.
Empathy,
Okay,
sympathy,
wait. I'll write them down. So, compassion.
Yeah,
Go
we
on.
have
We'll
compassion.
write
we
these
have,
all out and go through it systematically. So we've got compassion. What else?
Okay, we have knowledge of morality.
Okay, so moral agency. All right.
Yep. We have higher brain.
So wait. Say that again. You cut out.
Higher brain function.
Higher brain function. What do you mean by that?
Well, we possess higher.
We possess what? You cut out again?
Higher forms of thought.
Okay, higher forms of thought. I'll just write that down. Go on.
We have a very, as a human being, we have a very definitive definition of pleasure.
We have a definitive definition of pleasure.
And pain.
What does that mean?
Well, as a human being, the thing that makes is that
You keep cutting out. What are you
so
saying?
I said.
I think you have to sit closer to your microphone if it's on noise.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me better now?
I can hear you. Just a second.
Yeah.
You might want to put it on push to talk. Because I think what's happening is you put it on just noise gate capture, and you're sitting too far away, and then every few words you say, it's below that threshold, and then it cuts off.
Okay. So, to specify that, I as a human being understand pleasure and pain, and therefore I am driven to seek pleasure. That makes me sentient.
No, that's not the definition of sentience. The definition of sentience is the ability to have a subjective experience. Doesn't matter to what degree you can have an experience.
Your subjective experience is based on the pleasure or pain you garner from said experience. Like, I'm sure you understand this.
You can have an experience that doesn't give you pleasure or pain. It could just be neutral.
Yeah, and the neutrality falls within the paradigm of pleasure and pain.
Okay, well, what are you telling me? A chicken can't feel pain?
Yeah, chicken can feel pain. Does it understand and have the psychological ramifications? Human.
What? Okay, so
does the pain you inflict on a chicken have the same psychological ramifications as it does if you were to inflict it on a human?
Depends what human we're talking about.
Okay, so what do you want to make the argument of what low intelligence or comatose humans?
Like I'm just trying to add a name to this list, and you're not being clear here. Like, you're talking about sentience, but this is shared across species.
The list is entirely pointless. The name the trait debate has been debunked so many times.
No, it is. You gave humanity as the trait, but you said humanity encompasses a number of traits.
Okay,
so
why don't I make it simpler? Okay, so with regards, a human level of intelligence. Or, sorry, a human level of sentience. Something that only we as humans possess.
Human level of sentience. Okay.
Now, if any other species were to possess a human level of sentience, I would not see it as morally correct.
So is that the only... So, wait, is that the only trait that we're going to rely on then? Human level of sentience? Like, is that really just it?
What else would you propose?
Okay, like, I'm just asking what your argument is. Like, is that human level of sentience the only argument you're going to actually propose here?
Well, I believe it's the only one I need to propose.
Okay, cool. So how do we even determine what a human level of sentience is? Like, I mean, there could be somebody born with some sort of severe brain defect where their level of sentience isn't the same as another human being. I could argue that... Like, again, you kind of mentioned that ability to understand.
Yeah, but again, you're doing this you're making this ridiculous argument where you debate the traits in isolation of every other trait. You can't do that because that doesn't reflect reality.
We're only talking about one fucking trait right now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. But that's why the argument is so ridiculous.
We're only
It's
talking
quite
about one
absurd.
trait right now, so we're talking about human level of sentience.
Yeah. So if you argue every individual trait in isolation of every other trait, then you can continuously move the
You're
goalposts
only
and make
arguing for
arguments.
one trait right now.
Yeah,
And you said it's the
that's
only
my
one you
point.
need to argue for.
That's my point. That's why it's
You're
a
the one who made
ridiculous,
this fucking
absurd
argument. So
argument.
if you don't think this is an absurd argument, then make a fucking argument that you don't think is absurd.
Okay. So I personally believe, with regards to traits within animals and humans, if yeah, we'll say communication. If an animal that has a higher form of communication, such as dolphins, chimpanzees, bonobo monkeys, gorillas, certain other seafaring mammals, blue whales, then I'd think it's morally objectionable to kill them, which is shared by the vast majority of Western society. We don't kill those
Do they
animals.
have a human level of sentience?
Well, no, but if you want,
Okay, do they
if you
have
want to,
moral agency? Do they have compassion? Do they have higher forms of thought?
dolphins do, yes. So do some
They
chimpanzees.
have.
So do some
Okay,
primate
wait.
species.
You're telling me that a chimpanzee has
You're
compassion,
arguing.
moral
You're
agency,
arguing.
higher
You're
forms of thought,
arguing
and human
traits.
intelligence
You're arguing
or
singular
sentience?
traits in isolation of every other trait,
I'm
which
not.
is
I just
why.
listed off a
Which is
number of
why.
fucking traits. What do you mean
Yeah,
in
and again,
isolation?
so okay, so the name the trait debate. From what I've gathered, I've read up on it and I've watched a few videos explaining it, and I've and I've drawn the conclusion that it's an absurd argument for this particular reason. Now, if you were to name a singular trait, right? I can name a singular trait, then you can make an opposition to me. Say if I said intelligence, you could say, what about a human that isn't intelligent? Okay, then you're then disregarding everything else that makes that person a
No,
human.
you're straw manning me. I even challenged you to list off all the traits you fucking wanted. So no, you're just straw manning me. And then when you name one trait, human
I'm
level
not.
of sentience, then you
I'm not
just
straw
still
manning you.
use this against me.
I'm not strawmanning you. I'm calling
You
your form of
absolutely are.
argumentation.
You
I'm
absolutely
calling
are.
your.
I never said that you
I'm
have
calling.
to list off only one trait and use these traits one at a time.
But
I
that's
even
what you're
challenged
doing.
you to make
You
a
even
list. I even challenged you to list off all of the traits.
You
No,
even
this is
you
a
even
straw
said
man.
you even said we're talking about a human level of sentience right now. So I can't then bring in another trait.
You can if you want, and I even challenged you to do so. You said
so
human level of sentience is the only trait that I have to argue, so then I was arguing that with you, and then you still brought this argument against me that, oh, you're only listing off one trait. You only proposed this one trait, so name all the traits.
And that's the point. The more traits I add in, the stronger my argument becomes, and the weaker your argument becomes.
No.
It's absurd.
No. Name all the fucking
really
traits. Name all the goddamn traits you want.
Okay,
We'll use them
love.
simultaneously.
Yeah, love, guilt.
Wait, okay, so love, guilt. Okay, go on. Guilt would fall under moral agency, so I don't think we really need that.
Well, either way,
I guess if you want.
Human.
So love, guilt, embarrassment.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, do you want me to keep going? Do I really need to keep...
List off as many as you want.
Intelligence and work ethic. How many more do you want me
Okay,
to do?
intelligence, work ethic. Okay. Do you want to keep going?
Appreciation. I don't know. I can keep going if you want.
Okay. Do you want to keep going?
I can if you want. But should we deal with what I've laid out? So
Okay,
far?
sure. Okay. So there's a few that I can actually just cross off this list. Appreciation. Animals actually do show appreciation. Animals.
I never said they didn't.
Okay.
Here,
So how would you list this as a trait?
Different species can share traits, but they can still be distinct. I don't understand. In this.
Okay, so then it's human level of appreciation. Not
Okay,
just
if you wanna-
appreciation.
Okay, yeah, if you want to make that distinction.
Okay. Let's see. Guilt, this would sort of fall under moral agency. Animals do have a level of moral agency if they are social
Yeah,
creatures. It's just not to the extent that a human has.
I've already made the argument that humans and animals do share traits with each other cross species.
Yeah, I
So
know. I'm just mentioning this. I'm not disagreeing with you. Okay, so if we found a human being that had some sort of cognitive impairment where it was mentally retarded, um, I'd say being mentally retarded does lower the degree of moral agency anyway. You won't have higher forms of thought if you're mentally retarded. Human level of sentience, like again, if you're mentally retarded, I think we can argue that you have a lower level of sentience than a normal human being. Love, I think a mentally retarded person could feel love. I think animals feel love. Is it to the same extent that a normal human being can feel? Maybe not, but whatever. Like again, this is based on, you're not denying that these traits are shared. It's just a human level. Guilt, like again, a mentally retarded
what?
person isn't going to feel guilt probably. I actually know some people. I used to go to a school where there was a mentally retarded like wing of the school, and those kids had a huge fucking time with feeling empathy, guilt, knowing what they did was wrong. Intelligence, obviously, if you're mentally retarded, you're not going to have the same level of intelligence as a human. Work ethic, like again, all of this could fit under the spectrum of mental retardation. So, like, are you saying it's okay to kill mentally retarded people?
What is the mentally retarded person a human being? If it is, then no.
Okay, so then you're talking about genome, right?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I
Okay,
know
so
where
if
I
we-
know where you're going to go with this argument.
So human has nothing to do with these traits. You're just saying it has to do with DNA, just your genome.
Well, it's the multitude of traits that create your.
Then
your human
we just went
personality.
through these fucking traits, and you said you're not in
Yeah,
favor
exactly,
of killing a mentally retarded person. So they're
No,
lacking all
because
of these
because
traits,
they
and
are
then now you're saying it's because they're human. So define human.
Am I not allowed to
it-
hold? Am I not allowed to hold both stances? Like I see the human personality as a collection of traits, and I see that human.
Okay, a
as
mentally
human.
retarded person doesn't possess these traits.
Yeah, but again, there are a multitude of other traits that they will possess.
Like what?
I don't know, art, an appreciation of art. They can do paintings. They can.
I've seen
they can do-
elephants. I've seen elephants make paintings. Like I've seen chimpanzees make paintings. I think
and
animals
again,
can appreciate
the
art. I've
traits,
seen.
the traits are shared cross species. What's your point?
My point is, you're not actually naming a trait. All you keep doing is backpedaling on the.
I'm not.
You just keep backpedaling. You are. I asked you to name a series of traits, and then you reluctantly did.
And again,
after we go through these traits, well, now you fucking backpedal even more, and now you're going to another trait of DNA.
Shall I keep naming more traits?
I don't think it matters. Keep naming them. I don't really care.
Yes, that's my point.
Keep
it's
naming
absurd.
them. Keep naming them. So when we actually go through these traits and use them simultaneously, then you change what your fucking stance is again. Rather than humanity being defined as a list of traits, now you change it to genomic structure. So if the trait is genomic structure, then okay, would you be in favor of killing a human being that doesn't have the genomic structure of another human being? So it's technically not a human. It's not under the genus Homo.
If you completely transform one thing into another, then I don't have the same level of compassion for said thing because it's not in its original state anymore. It's like if you, as you how do you pronounce your second name? Richard Burgess. If you were to transform into a chicken and your history as you was entirely erased and you are now just a chicken, then you are now a chicken. You are not Richard anymore. If you completely transmogrify one thing into another, it is no longer said original thing. And again, it's a hypothetical scenario which could never take place. It's a pointless, fruitless argument.
Okay, then let's just skip name the trait if you're going to play this sort of game. What is the justification?
What game am I playing? Explain it to me.
You're playing word games. You just keep moving the goalpost further and further back. When you list out single traits, you say, oh, well, that's not fair. We're not using traits simultaneously. When we use traits simultaneously, then you say, then you change what the fucking trait is again. You define humanity as a set of traits, and then when we go through those set of traits, now you redefine humanity as genomic structure. And then,
Well,
when we finally go through that trait, you use the trait of history. So look, if you're just gonna keep playing this game where we move the goalposts further and further back every single time we name a trait, then let's just skip name the trait. What is your justification for needlessly taking the life of a sentient being? You agree that chickens can feel pain, they can suffer, they're sentient, and they have a will to live. Do you agree with those things?
What, killing a chicken?
Yeah. Do you agree that chickens are sentient and have a will to live?
Richard, this is the roadblock that you run into time and time again.
This isn't a roadblock.
Allow me to state my point, please. This is what you run into time and time and time again when you're debating vegan. And again, you need to understand that I don't disagree with your stances on the. I disagree with your forms of argumentation. Like you completely disregarded the fact with regard to the name of the trait that I could have just kept naming more and more and more traits with regards to that retarded human being that would have still made him human. I then moved on to the human genome, but the human genome still exists in tandem with the human traits. They are both, they both exist simultaneously. It's a human being with the human genome and has traits that I grant you do cross species with other animals, but it doesn't change the fact that you're arguing the execution or the murder of a retarded human being because he is retarded against an animal that has the same level of intelligence. There's a big difference there.
Why is there a difference there?
Because, okay,
what is the difference there?
Okay, so one, that retarded human being, right? So it will have a mother, a father, possibly brothers, sisters, siblings that all love him. If you were to kill him because he was retarded, will that not have an
Okay, what if he didn't
damage?
have any family?
Well, then you're still killing a retarded human being. Do you not see that as objectionable?
I do, and I see it as objectionable to kill an animal
And
that
I
has
disagree
a
with you.
similar level of sentience or intelligence. So what's
I
the moral
disagree with you.
distinction here? What's the moral distinction?
It's a human being.
Okay, I could say, well, it's okay to kill a Jew because it's a Jew. It's not like a black person or a white person. It's just a Jew. You're just
No, but it's still a human being.
you're just listing off. Well, look, I can just arbitrarily name differences between species, between races or ethnicities. You're just arbitrarily using the trait of species when we've already established we can make these reductios like sentience, intelligence, ability to think, higher functioning, like we already listed off these number of traits. You're just arbitrarily using species as the differentiating factor. I could just arbitrarily list off race as the differentiating factor. So you're not actually making a moral differentiation here. You're just listing off arbitrarily.
A person of another race is still a human being. I don't even know what you propose that argument. It's ridiculous.
Okay, so you're just plain not listening to me. You're just plain refusing to listen to me. I just said you are arbitrarily listing off some sort of difference. You're making this arbitrary distinction between species.
I'm making an arbitrary distinction.
I could arbitrarily make a distinction between race, and we've already proven that this is arbitrary because we've already gone through a list of traits.
Race and species are not equivalent.
It doesn't matter. You are arbitrarily making this differentiation.
You're basing your argument on
established
faulty
why
foundations.
this is arbitrary. We've already established why this is arbitrary. We've gone through a list of traits. We've already gone through the list of traits: sentience, intelligence, what the fuck else? I still have the thing. Compassion, moral agency, higher forms of thought, love, guilt. We've already gone through all of these traits, and you still refuse. You still refuse to, bite the bullet and say, okay, well, it's fine to murder a mentally retarded human being, even though in every meaningful way we've made it. In every single way, in every single meaningful way, we've we've compared, let's say, the life of a chicken or a pig or a cow to a human being, but you still refuse to say, well, okay, in that situation, it's okay to kill a human being.
Do you think the average life of a chicken or a pig or a cow can correlate to the average day of a... No, it
proves that
doesn't
you are
prove
making
anything.
an arbitrary
It doesn't prove
distinction.
anything.
You are just making an arbitrary distinction between species for absolutely no reason other
Well, you're
than,
just making...
I have to assume, other than to justify eating meat for no good reason.
I can make the opposite claim. You're just making arbitrary connections. You're just making you were just
okay. So you're saying so you're saying nothing matters other than species.
Okay, well, say I am making.
Is that what you're saying?
Say I am making that argument. Do you have a valid argument against that?
A valid argument against species.
Yeah. Do you have a valid argument against species?
Okay, well, would you be in favor of holocausting an alien race that has the same level of sentience, intelligence, ability to love, have compassion, moral agency as us? Would you be in favor of that?
No, because I've already stated.
Okay, then that proves it.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't prove anything. I've already stated that.
You're being okay. You're being a sophist right now.
You're. No, I'm not. You're arguing topics in isolation of one another. It's ridiculous.
No, I'm not. No, we're not.
You can't claim my standpoint of empathizing or considering it morally abhorrent to murder a species due to its level of sentience and intelligence and communication. And then say, oh, well, what if there's an alien species that has exactly the same level of sentience, communication, blah blah blah. I've already said I don't agree with that. I've already stated the case that I don't agree.
Are you like even following the whole conversation, dude? Like, I'm asking this honestly, not to even be like rude or disrespectful or anything. Do you have like a learning disability where you like have a short-term memory problems?
So that
like you're literally not following along with the conversation.
Well, so Richard, I don't understand the point that you're trying to make. I've already claimed that if a species has the same level of intelligence, sentience, and communication.
Yeah, I know. And then after we've already gone over why you're making an arbitrary distinction between species when I could just as easily make one between race, you asked me, well, okay, well,
yeah,
if you were to rely on the distinction of species, what is the argument against that? And I presented that argument where, okay, well, would you be against holocausting a species of aliens that has all the same traits, but they're just a different species? And you said no. So again, this just further proves that you're arbitrarily making a differentiation between species for no reason.
Richard, my viewpoints don't exist in isolation of one another. I can hold.
We've already established this. We've already established
exactly.
This.
So why are you making the point? It's ridiculous.
We've already gone over this. We're not looking at traits in isolation. We can run every single trait simultaneously at the same time. You're just making the same ridiculous fucking argument.
Okay, so
you want it both ways, dude. You want it both ways. On the one hand, if we run through the traits one by one, you'll make this criticism. No, look, you're being totally dishonest. When we run through the traits one by one, you'll make this argument that you can't look at these traits in isolation. When we run them all at once simultaneously, you keep making this fucking same argument even though it doesn't make any sense. Again, you just keep making this arbitrary distinction between species for no reason.
No, I don't. I don't understand how you're not getting what I'm saying. Let me just state my point again. Just so it's perfectly clear, so that we're both on equal footing, because it seems that there's a miscommunication here, which is why we're not understanding each other. So let me just state what I believe. Okay, so there are a multitude of traits that make up a human being that we also do share with some animal species, more with others than. So we say we would share more with pigs than we do with chickens, just
sure.
Arbitrarily.
I'd agree with that.
Okay, so. But then I also believe that a human being is still a human being. Therefore, I don't see it as morally correct to murder said human being for any reason. Right. Those two beliefs don't negate each other. So you can't argue that me saying that an animal of a different species sharing my level of intelligence, sentience, several other traits with me, whilst also being another species, is therefore negates any of my points, because it simply doesn't. Do you understand what I mean?
Right. So then you're literally just admitting in what you just said that you're arbitrarily making a distinction between species because all other things could be held equal. You would still be against murdering a human being. So you are just making an
Well, I'm.
arbitrary distinction between species. Look, I could just arbitrarily make a distinction between race. Why does this have to be separated at the species level? Why does it have to be separated at the species level? Because
You don't need to
look,
repeat.
you
You don't
literally
need to
just
repeat the
admitted
question.
in what you said all other things could be equal. Just the fact that it's a different species that
No, I didn't
prevents
say
me
that.
from killing a human being. You literally just said that.
No, I didn't. I didn't say that.
Yes, you did. You literally just said
No, I
that.
didn't. Okay, let me just repeat myself. I made the claim that human beings have a multitude of traits that make them human, that we share with some other animal species across the board. Not all at once, but you can go species to species and make the right. And I also believe that we as humans should not kill other humans. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I'm not.
Okay, so the
I'm not
fact that we
seeing a point here.
the fact that we share a specific number of our own traits with another animal species doesn't change the fact that that is still a different animal species that I don't see as morally incorrect to kill. But if it were a human, because it is the same species, I do see it as morally objectionable to kill that because it's still a human being. The two viewpoints don't cancel each other out. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Okay, look, again, you just reiterated the same point that the
But you don't
separation you're
understand.
making here is at species. You literally just reiterated that same point. Look, let's just keep things simple. If all things were equal between a human and a pig, for instance, let's say you could find a human being that had all of the same exact traits as a pig. The only difference was species, just genetic structure was different, but intelligence, ability to feel love, compassion, all the traits you can name that encompass humanity. The only difference is DNA. Would you be in favor of killing the human being?
Well, is the pig on the same level as the average human, or are you
No.
talking another retarded?
No, a retarded human.
Then no.
Okay, so then you are just making an arbitrary distinction between
So
species.
if the species of pig were on exactly the same level as human beings, or maybe a little more, maybe a little less, then I would see it as morally objectionable to kill them, but they're not.
So
Now,
so
what-
you're making an argument for species normality. If the average within a species is that way, then it's okay to kill them.
No. My point was that you were arguing if we could find a pig with the same traits as an individual.
No, I'm
pig.
saying if we could find a human with the same traits as a pig, not a pig with the same traits as a human.
A retarded human.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
So
I
what?
don't agree with.
Right.
I don't-
So it comes down to species. If all other things were equal between the human and the pig, the only difference is species. You would still be against killing the human, but you'd be fine with killing the pig. So it's species, right?
Yeah, and I said earlier, say if it was species, can you argue against that from a vegan standpoint?
We've wow, dude, we've already gone over this.
No, and you made the argument and then claimed that I was making arbitrary points. Like if for instance, say if me personally were to go out to, I don't know, say if I were to go down to the Mariana Trench, a species of, I don't know, subhumanoids, aquafaring mammals that shared exactly the same intelligence we do, but they were a different species. They were technically fish. I'd say no, do not kill them because they are a higher form of life. Like, do you understand the difference between higher forms of life and lower forms?
Look, okay, so you're just again diverting off into a different topic. The point is, if we were to find a human
really
being,
not.
a retarded human being that shares the exact same traits as a pig, you wouldn't be in favor of killing the human because
No,
of
because it's still
species.
a human.
Yeah, species.
Yes.
Right.
That's the
So-
point. That's the point I just
So
made.
why in the hell are you making the distinction at species and not all of these other traits that you clearly find more valuable? Because again, if we were to switch to a different species that had the same level of intelligence, cognitive ability to love, understand, you wouldn't be in favor of killing them even though
No, I
they're a
wouldn't.
different species. So clearly you care more about these traits than the trait species, but you're making a fucking double standard. So
No, I'm not.
when it's in favor of your position that,
No, I'm
oh,
not.
no, that is a total double standard. That's a
Okay.
complete double standard.
Sure.
Okay,
Sure.
clearly, species doesn't matter as much as something like intelligence, sentience, ability to love, understand, all those traits we mentioned, because you wouldn't be in favor of killing another species that had those abilities. So why the hell wouldn't you be in favor of killing a human being that is trait equalized to a pig?
Because it's still a human.
It's because you recognize
Still a
that
human.
those traits are enough to give that creature a right to live. Has
Look,
nothing to do with the species.
Okay, so do you understand that if I were to see, for instance, if I were to see a man shooting a dog in the head
Sure.
in front of me, right? If I were to see a man shooting a dog in the head, I would have an emotional to that. It would cause me stress. If I were to see a man shooting a human in the head, it would cause me a greater level of emotional stress.
Okay.
So I value the one species over the other because it is a human. Now
Okay.
you can't. So what do you want me to do? Do you want me to rewire my emotional reaction so that I care more for the animal?
Okay, so wait, you're saying your own personal preference is what justifies killing an animal?
Well, wouldn't that be the same across the board for all of everybody?
So personal preference justifies murder.
Because that's again, I don't agree that killing
Okay, well, wait,
equates
let me
to
ask
killing
you
a
this.
human.
Well, let me ask you this. If you were to see somebody do this to a pig, where they shot a pig in the head, the same way you explained a dog being shot in the head, what would you
Yeah.
feel?
If I were to see an animal killed in front of, then yeah, it would cause me a certain level of emotional stress, regardless of.
Okay, well, then what's the justification for doing this if you have this sort of emotional reaction?
Well, because if I see a human shot in the head in front, it causes a greater
Okay,
emotional reaction.
look.
Ergo, I care more about the human.
Oh, okay, well, look, if you saw your mother getting shot in the head and you saw a random stranger on the street getting shot in the head, you'd care more about your mother. Does that justify
Yeah.
killing the random stranger? No, just because there's a difference in how you feel. Like, sure, you might feel worse about one thing than the other, but you still feel bad about it.
Richard, I'm not arguing against. I'm not arguing for the murder of animals.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You're not vegan, and you're saying it's not a moral obligation.
Well, no, I don't think it is. But I'm not saying.
Then you are arguing in favor for the murder of
I
animals.
think it's moral. I believe it's morally neutral.
It's morally neutral to needlessly cause the exploitation, suffering, and death of sentient beings.
Well, is it okay? We can boil it down to: is it needless if it serves a purpose?
What purpose does it serve?
Feeding us.
Okay, well, if you take a look at Chapter 5, page 76 of the UN's latest climate report, animal agriculture is actually reducing our food supply. So because animal agriculture, it requires far more land than plant agriculture, you can't actually produce as much food. So if we were to switch to a completely 100% plant-based food supply, we would have more food. So you're arguing for feeding us. Well, no, it actually reduces the food supply. It has negative utility.
Richard, I agree with you, but that doesn't make the fact that that killing the pig is a needless.
So it's needless. Yes, it is.
The purpose. But the pig is still being killed.
No, okay, wait. If I were to kill and eat you, would that be a needless murder? You're serving the purpose of feeding me, right? So would that be a needless murder?
It depends. What's the situation?
What do you mean? What do you mean? No, if my groceries ran out and I needed to go to the grocery store, if I were to shoot you in the back of the head, kill and eat you, would you say that's a needless murder?
Yes.
Okay, so then how is it not needless to do this to animals? So you agree it's needless. How is this morally neutral if you're fucking needlessly causing the suffering, death, and exploitation of sentient beings?
I'm talking about the act in and of itself. You're not slaughtering the pig for no reason. You are slaughtering the pig to feed us. The fact that we could
look, we're killing these animals for taste, pleasure, no reason. If we were doing this out of pure practicality, we would switch to plant-based diets.
Okay, Richard, look. Let me make a point here. So right, what you as a vegan, I assume.
Okay, well, no. Let's not change the subject
No, no, no,
yet.
no.
If Hitler
I'm not.
Holocausted the Jews to make meat, to make Jew meat, would you say that was a needless murder?
Yes.
Okay, so then point proven.
But again, they're human. I make a massive distinction between
That
human
has
animals.
nothing to do. That has nothing to do with species. We're not talking about morality of killing a human versus killing an animal. We're talking about what constitutes needless murder. Doesn't matter what species it is. So if you're going to say killing a human for food is fucking needless, then you would also have to agree that killing an animal for food is needless.
Well, yeah,
So what?
it is.
Okay. So then how is it morally neutral?
I don't disagree with you.
You're contradicting your own claims.
Richard, listen, please, let me just restate belief, okay? I agree with you. Veganism is on a higher moral level than carnivorous diet. I 100% agree with you, and I also know that, for instance, that we produce far more food to feed the animal and slaughter than we do from slaughtering to feed our population. I don't have an objection to veganism. I'm not disagreeing with that. What I am disagreeing with is your forms of argument. So we're having a debate here that is entirely needless because I don't oppose those views. Do you understand what?
Yes, you do oppose those views. You are arguing that veganism is not a moral obligation when I'm arguing that it is. So yes, you are opposing these views. And the reasons you're giving are absolutely nonsense. You've contradicted yourself numerous times throughout here.
No.
Yes, you have. You absolutely have. Look, at one point you said, well, there's a need to killing animals, and then eventually you ended up saying there is no need.
No, I didn't. I said that the act in killing the animal, you're not killing the animal for no reason.
I'm not killing... Look, in the hypothetical I gave, I'm not killing you for no reason. I'm killing you because I want to eat you.
Yeah, but
food.
I make the distinction of me being a human.
That has nothing to do with species. It has nothing to do with human or not. It's what constitutes need. It's what constitutes need. You keep going off into some red herring. When I'm arguing about what constitutes need, you go into some red herring about making a differentiation between humans and animals.
Do you see this as a productive conversation?
Well, look, I'd say most of the argument, like most of the debates I have on any fucking topic, usually end up not being productive just because the person I'm debating just doesn't make a good case.
Okay, so say if I were to throw out some ideas I think would help the vegan cause, would you be willing to go through those with me?
Look, we're not done arguing on this topic. You're claiming that killing and eating animals is morally neutral. Wait.
Richard,
are you claiming that killing and eating animals is morally neutral? No, you keep going off into red herrings. Are you claiming that killing and eating animals is morally neutral?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you're saying needlessly causing the exploitation, suffering, and murder of animals is morally neutral. When it reduces the food supply, it's a huge producer of greenhouse gases. It's one of the main drivers of climate change, water and air pollution. And again, you are inevitably going to cause the torture and suffering death of animals. It also has massive impacts on human health. So how is that all of those things morally neutral? By going to a plant-based diet, we can reduce all of those things. We can reduce the amount of suffering and death in the animal species. We can improve our environmental footprint. We can improve our health. You're saying it's morally neutral to continue doing something like this?
But Richard, are you implying outcome? Yeah.
Sorry, you're breaking up again. Can you just make?
Sorry, are you implying that the outcome implies the intent?
Look, what is the intent behind the meat industry? What's the intent? It's to provide a product for people who just like the taste of meat. The intent isn't to provide something healthy and nutritious and make sure it's only profit. It's only profit.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with you.
So how is it morally neutral to support an industry that needlessly abuses and kills animals? How is that morally neutral? Clearly, it has a net negative effect.
But would you say that the slaughter and butchery of animals has been morally abhorrent throughout the
entirety of human history?
Yeah.
Well, that's totally fucking irrelevant to the discussion. Who cares? I'm not going off into a red herring. Look, I'm not going to let you go off into some fucking red herring.
Again, let me finish my point. Okay, so the reason that people that it is a social norm today is due to the fact that we have literally done it throughout the entirety of human history.
Okay, we've used slavery.
You can argue that that's a historical fallacy, and yes, it is. But again, it doesn't disprove anything. Now, what you need to do is convince people that those social norms.
Look, no, you're going off into a red herring again. You're going off into a red herring. Now you're talking about effective vegan activism when I'm arguing whether or not eating meat is morally neutral. So stop going off into random tangents. Why is eating meat morally neutral when it generates net negativity? I'm asking you, how is eating meat morally neutral when it's a net negative?
If morality can be compounded across the entirety of the human species, then you could make.
We're not talking about what happened 1,000 years ago. We're not talking about that. We're talking about
God.
You're not making a fucking point. Stop going off into tangents about what happened in history, why we do this. I'm asking you, why is the meat industry today morally neutral, and you're not even making up an argument?
You're not letting me
coming up with an argument. Come up with an argument.
You're not letting me follow through?
Okay, then come up with a fucking argument. Don't talk about what happened in the past, about the history. Then fucking make an argument. Make an argument.
My point.
Okay, go ahead.
So, the individual action of killing and eating an animal on the basis that it's an individual person killing an animal to eat it, I believe is morally neutral. The wholesale industrial slaughter of millions of animals, I do not believe to be morally neutral. So I agree with veganism as a whole. I agree with that cause, that there are far more humane ways that we could go about this, and hopefully inevitably come to the conclusion where we phase that out entirely. My point is that you'll just accuse me of going off herring, but that's my initial point. So a human individually killing and eating an animal. So for instance, if I was out in the wild, I killed and ate an animal, I see that as morally neutral, as on an individual basis. If you were to then transpose that to the wholesale slaughter of millions, no, it's not morally.
Okay, well, wait. You're creating a very convenient hypothetical. If you were out in the wild and you had access to all of the plant foods that you would need to survive.
Okay. If I had a farm that I used to feed my family, or if I had a farm that I used to feed my say for instance my local town, it's the same. It's the same argument. I don't see that as morally objectionable.
How is it? Okay, wait. If you had the choice, you had two choices. You could either kill an animal for food or eat plants for food, and we're assuming that you can get all the nutrition you need from just eating plants. How is it morally neutral to needlessly kill the animal? Take away a life that can experience joy, happiness, that wants to live? How is that morally neutral when it's a needless killing?
Well, again, we're arguing levels of empathy. I don't see this kill.
It has nothing to do with levels of empathy. How is it morally neutral if we can recognize that the being is sentient? How is it morally neutral to needlessly kill a sentient being?
Because I do not see a human being eating an.
It has nothing.
Morally abhorrent.
It has nothing to do with the difference between species. I'm asking you, how is it morally neutral? How is it morally neutral to needlessly kill an animal, regardless of species?
Because it's. What do you want me to say?
Let's just use basic math. No. Let's just use basic math. If you let this animal live, it will experience more joy later in life. If you kill it, it can no longer experience joy. How is it morally neutral to kill the animal if it is completely needless?
Because it's.
What?
What do you want me to say? Because it's an animal. What do you want me to say? It's an animal.
Okay, so you don't have an actual argument, and you're just spouting off complete and utter fucking nonsense.
My God,
You're spouting off complete and utter nonsense. You're not.
I'm almost
You're
agreeing with
spouting
you.
complete and utter nonsense. You're saying it's morally neutral to needlessly kill a sentient being. You're not giving a reason. You're just saying it's an animal. People are fucking animals. Is it morally neutral to kill a fucking human being?
No, but we make the distinction between humans and animals.
It doesn't matter if there's a distinction between humans and animals. You're saying it's morally neutral even though it's a sentient being. So it doesn't matter about levels of sentience, doesn't matter what the species is, you're literally just saying it's morally neutral to needlessly kill a sentient being. So it doesn't matter if it's a different species than us, doesn't matter if it's fucking human, doesn't matter what levels of sentience it has. You're saying it is morally neutral. So this is complete and utter fucking nonsense. Once again, you've completely contradicted yourself.
Okay, I am saying that. That's my standpoint. Can you make an argument to change my mind?
This is just basic math. If it is a needless killing, you are taking away the life of a being that wants to live and can experience well-being in the future. So you are creating a net negative situation.
Okay, and I don't... Say I don't agree with you. Can you change my mind?
There's no disagreement on this. Okay, so it doesn't even matter what fucking species we're talking about. This is just basic math. So
we clearly draw different distinctions. So
this is just basic math. It doesn't even have anything to do with the species. So if we were to talk about this with a human being, if we were to kill a human being needlessly, what's the problem with killing that human being needlessly?
Well, it's a human being. I mean, I could go further. It more than likely has family.
Okay, let's say this is a random drifter, doesn't have family, doesn't have anything that will care, who will care about it. What is the problem with killing a drifter who has no friends, family, and nobody cares about him? What's the moral issue with that?
Well, I mean, I could argue legality, but that's...
No, you can't argue legality. Because look, the Holocaust was legal, slavery was legal, you can't argue legality.
Well, I was literally just going to say I could argue legality, but it's pointless.
No, it's stupid, is what it is. So what's the problem with killing a fucking human being that has no friends or family, is a drifter, nobody cares about him? What's the moral issue?
Well, it's still a human being with wants, needs, desires. Animals also have wants, needs, desires.
Okay, then you agree that it is a net negative to needlessly kill a fucking animal.
How does it affect... Well, no, because I draw the distinction between humans and animals.
Okay, so your brain has completely gone to fucking mush.
Look,
clearly,
you can condescend me.
This has nothing to do with the difference between humans and animals. We're talking about very simple, basic fucking math here. So again, what is the problem with needlessly killing a human being that has no friends, no families? If he dies, no one will fucking know about him. No one whatsoever. Let's say this guy lives out in the fucking woods. Literally nobody knows of his existence. What's the problem with me going and shooting him in the back of the head? He doesn't even fucking know it's coming. What's the moral issue with that?
Well, one, you're arguing hypothetical brain. We'll tackle this. Okay, so that
doesn't matter if it's hypothetical.
Well, it's a hypothetical extreme.
No, it's not. No, it's not. There are people who actually live that way.
Yeah, there are people who actually live that way. Do you see it as okay to go and shoot them?
No, I don't. And I'm making the point that just because they're sentient, just because they have a will to live, it is wrong to kill them. Doesn't matter if they have friends, families. Look, they're a sentient being that wants to live. It goes against their well-being to kill them.
I agree. I agree with you, but I don't then make that distinction with animals because I don't see them on the same level as humans.
It doesn't matter if they're not on the same level.
Simple.
It doesn't matter if they're not on the same level. It has nothing to do with level of sentience or level of intelligence.
If you want to keep moving the goalposts, you can, but
we're not moving the goalposts. This has nothing to do with level of intelligence. It has nothing to do with level of intelligence or level of sentience. You're making the argument that it's morally neutral. Your argument is that it's morally neutral. All I have to do is prove that it is not morally neutral. It creates a negative. So it doesn't matter if I point to a human example. If it creates a net negative in that situation, then it creates a net negative in the other situation.
Me killing an animal to feed myself, isn't it?
Oh my god, we've already gone over this. You don't need to kill the animal to feed yourself. You don't need to kill the animal to feed yourself. It is a needless killing.
No, I can kill the animal, or I could go forage for woodland vegetation. The animal's there, I'll kill the animal. If the woodland vegetation's there, I'll eat the vegetables.
Okay, look, again, in this hypothetical,
What's your
you can
point?
live, look, in this hypothetical, you can live perfectly fine without killing and eating an animal, okay? You can live perfectly fine.
Okay.
So would you agree that if you
But what
were
if?
to kill
But
some
what?
sort of animal,
But
it would
what?
be a needless
But
killing?
what if I want to eat meat?
Okay, so you're saying personal preference makes it okay to eat meat?
What?
Like personal taste preference?
Well, yes. Say. You see that's again. That's one of the pitfalls that you fall into. Like you argue the
No, it's
personal
not.
preference.
No, it's not, dude. And again,
Are
you're
you gonna
just
let me
breaking
finish?
off into a totally
Are you
different fucking red herring. Look,
are you gonna let me finish the
look,
point?
no,
You're just gonna keep
you're not
interrupting me?
making a fucking point. You
You
claimed that
want
it's
you
morally
want me.
neutral
You
to eat
want
meat.
me.
You claimed
You
that it's
only want
morally
me.
neutral to eat meat. So,
You
look, all I
only
have to
want me.
prove, all I have to
You
prove
only want
is that
me
it
to make
generates
the
a
point
net
you
neg.
want me to make.
What?
How does it generate a net negative? You only want me to make the point you want me to make, so you can get a win. If I kill an animal to eat it, I don't see that as a negative. It's
It's a
an animal.
needless killing. Okay, so if I kill a human being because I want to eat meat, that's nothing wrong with that, right?
Well, okay, if we're
I
arguing
needed to eat,
hypotheticals,
right? I needed to eat
if
food, so it's not a needless killing. So killing and eating a human being, that's totally fine, right?
if we're arguing hypotheticals, then you and that other human being have a great food. It would actually be it would actually be a net positive to keep that human alive.
Sorry, what?
Okay, so in your hypothetical situation, I come across a human being. As I'm looking for food, I could kill that human to eat them, or I'm proposing that you could form a relationship with that human, and search for together. If we're arguing
Okay, what if I
hypotheticals.
didn't want to? What if I hated people and that's the reason I'm living out in the woods? So
Well, then,
what's the negative consequence of me killing and eating a human?
well, then you're a psychopath.
No, no, it's I'm not a psychopath. It's just that I don't like people. I'd rather not be around them, and I need to eat food, right?
Oh,
So it's totally
sorry,
fine
I
to kill
thought.
and eat a human.
No, it's not totally fine.
Okay, so you agree that killing a human being or killing an animal for food when there is no need to do so, you can subsist off of plants.
Yes,
That is a
because
needless killing.
you're
That is a
not
needless killing.
you are never going to get me to see an animal on the same level as a
Doesn't
human.
matter. Look,
does.
dude, it doesn't fucking matter. You keep breaking off
It
into these
does.
stupid fucking red herrings. It doesn't have anything to do with a comparison between human and animal. You are claiming that it is morally neutral to kill an animal for no reason. For no reason.
You're essentially arguing a philosophical point here, but it doesn't correlate to reality, so it doesn't.
Okay, can you shut the fuck up for about 3 minutes? Just for 3 minutes, can you shut your stupid fucking trap for 3 minutes?
Don't be
So you are
disrespectful,
arguing,
Richard.
so you
Well,
are
I can
fucking
throw insults as
arguing.
well.
Shut your fucking mouth. So you're arguing that it's morally neutral to needlessly
I'll
kill
shut
an
my
animal,
fucking
and
mouth
we've
if you
already
shut your fucking
established that it is a needless killing to kill an animal, whether it be human or non-human animal, when you can eat plant foods just fine. That is what constitutes a needless killing. You are claiming that it is morally neutral to needlessly kill an animal. Well, that is very easily disproved, because in a human context, you would say, if you were to kill a human being and kill and eat him, like a human being out in the woods who nobody cares about, you would say that is a net negative. So for the same reason that's a net negative, it would also be a net negative to fucking kill an animal. All I have to prove is that it is not morally neutral. It has nothing to do with value differences between humans and animals. So your fucking argument is completely debunked. If you're going to claim it's morally neutral to kill a fucking animal, well, you've already fucking disproved yourself.
But I disagree with you.
Okay, well, you know what? You can disagree all you want, but you're fucking wrong.
That doesn't sway my. Disagree with you. I don't think it's correct for me killing a human, whether they.
It has nothing. It has nothing to do with whether or not you think it's acceptable to kill a human. Your claim that I am responding to is that it's morally neutral to kill and eat an animal, and even in the context of needless killing. So that's all I was responding to. Again, you're going off into a fucking red herring about how I don't think it's right to kill a human being. That's not the fuck what I was responding to. So again, you're just talking complete fucking horseshit and wasting my time. So we've already established it is not morally neutral to kill and eat an animal needlessly.
You have established that. You haven't proven.
No. We have both established that. You've already fucking contradicted yourself.
I disagree with you.
Okay, why do you disagree? What's the disagreement?
Well, again, if I make my arguments, you're just going to red
No,
herring.
go
My
ahead,
argument.
make your argument. I won't talk until you're finished.
Okay, so I, as a human being, see it as morally objectionable to kill, regardless. We can make.
You're breaking up. You have to be closer to your mic. You should just put yourself on close to talk. Or sorry, push to talk.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so my standpoint is I see it as morally objectionable to kill a human being, regardless. You arguing the human versus animal perspective makes no difference to me because I make massive distinctions between the two. Now you can make arguments with regards to why you shouldn't kill animals, but using humans as a comparison will not sway my opinion because I see too big of a difference. That's where you're falling down here. I don't care. If it's a human, it's a human. I'm not going to kill it.
You did not respond to my argument. Do you recognize you did not fucking respond to my argument? I was arguing against your claim that it is morally neutral.
I just dismissed your argument.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You claimed that it is morally neutral to fucking kill an animal. That's the only thing I was arguing against. Now, for the same fucking reason that you would be against killing a human being, you would also be against killing an animal because it creates a net negative situation where you're taking away the life of a sentient being that if you weren't to kill it, it could experience further well-being.
If you're going to keep comparing the animal to the human,
this has nothing to do with a fucking comparison. This has nothing to do with a fucking comparison. You're just completely ignoring my argument.
Well, then why do you keep saying human versus animal? Do you want to move on?
This has nothing to do with human versus animal. This is about your fucking claim that it's morally neutral.
Can we move on to another point because you're just spurging at this point?
Okay, look. Do you recognize that an animal is a sentient being? Do you recognize that?
Yes, there are different levels of sentience. But yes,
okay, it doesn't matter if there's a different fucking levels of sentience. Is it sentient? Yes or no?
Oh wow!
Is it sentient? Yes or no?
Yes.
Does it want to live? Is there at least this assumption that an animal wants to keep on living? Say a wild animal like a deer.
There are varying degrees, but yes.
Okay, and do these animals have an ability to experience well-being when it associates with its other animal friends, when it finds food? Is it experiencing well-being?
Again, varying degrees, but yes, I agree with you.
Okay, so then for the same reason, it would be wrong, you would see it wrong to kill a human being in this hypothetical context where it doesn't have any friends, family, it's living out in the woods. You would also see that it's wrong. You would also see that it generates a net negative to kill the animal. Doesn't matter about this comparison between humans and animals. If you agree that they share those same basic fucking traits, doesn't matter if they're different species. Doesn't matter if they can't experience well-being, happiness, joy, sentience to the same degree. It still creates a net negative. So you cannot claim that it is morally neutral to kill an animal for no fucking reason.
But I also draw the line at species. Are you just saying I should disregard that?
Okay, great. You're not making an argument, right?
No. Let me finish the question. So are you saying that for me to answer you, you want me to disregard species?
You've already disregarded species before. We've already gone over this. You said if all traits were equalized and the only difference were species, you would still be against killing a human, or you'd be against killing another animal species if the traits were equalized, where the animal species was at the same level of a human being. So you've already disregarded species. So this is complete horseshit. It doesn't fucking matter. You've already established that it doesn't fucking matter.
Okay, so if you're making me draw the distinction between killing a human being in isolation that lives out in the woods, has no friends, family, but shares the same desire for life and the same sort of and the animal also has more social interaction as it.
Okay, so let's say it's a solitary animal. Like I don't know. Let's say there's some species of.
Can I say, is this an acceptable argument that I would kill neither?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that's an acceptable argument. And that's the argument that I'm making. You should kill neither because both killing either would generate a net negative. So then
And
you
again,
agree it's not morally neutral.
and again, if we're arguing these hypotheticals, so like for instance, if I were out in the woods and I had the opportunity to kill a human or an animal, I could choose to kill neither because there are far more easier food sources that I could gather as opposed to hunting a deer or killing a human
that's the
being.
argument that I'm making. So then you agree that it is a negative to kill an animal needlessly when you have other food sources like we have now, like you have now.
Only in terms of the physical exertion that it would put on my body.
What?
Like if there's a food source that's easier for me to gather, why would I hunt a deer?
Okay, look, plant
But
foods
that's the point of veganism as
let's
a whole.
say, okay, well, wait. Animal food sources are harder to produce. Again, you need more land. It's more intensive. It's more expensive to produce animal foods as opposed to plant foods. So what are you talking about? The amount of difficulty it has for you to go to the grocery store is the same, but if we're talking about actual food production...
We were arguing a specific hypothetical. If you want to change the hypothetical, then we can. Like with regard, again, that's the thing.
Dude, again, you're just going off into another fucking
I'm about
tangent.
to agree with you, so if you want to let me finish.
Okay, sure, go.
So, okay, with regards to animal agriculture, there are far more easier ways to feed the population than the slaughter of animals. I 100% agree with that.
Okay.
In terms of ease. You could feed the human population on the food that we grow to feed the animals that we kill to feed the human population. Do you agree with that?
The feed that we use to... Sorry, the crops that we use to feed animals, we could actually use that feed to feed the human population.
Yes.
Okay, so wait, are you saying that food alone, or are you saying just food total?
Well, okay, food in general. My point is that the food that we grow to feed the animals,
it could feed humans.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my point. Now, a thing again that I 100% agree with is that the animal agriculture, as it stands right now, it's a huge industry. It's very, very powerful. And what would in order to change the human diet as a whole, you need to come up with an economically and financially viable solution that negates the needless slaughter of animals. My point is that we haven't gotten to that yet. I assume that one day we will, but so I think introducing the vegan diet to more people would be the better way to gather more people to your cause. Like, for instance, I think that we have school lunches or we have work cafeterias. If we were to have a vegan day, for instance,
dude, this has nothing to fucking do with the argument we're having of whether or not it's morally neutral to kill an animal.
Well, again, my initial
do you just like to run off? Do you just like to run off whenever you're in a corner where you look stupid?
But Richard, we've hit an impasse on whether it's morally.
We haven't hit an impasse. You're not agreeing. So again, why is it morally neutral to needlessly kill a fucking animal?
Do you just want me to agree with you? Because I'd be lying, but I could do that.
Look, you have to concede on this point. This is a disagreement. Well,
No,
then you're just being fucking dishonest sophist.
Can we not disagree with each other respectfully?
Look, you're just being a dishonest fucking sophist. You claimed that it's morally neutral to needlessly kill a fucking animal, and after we've gone through everything, I've proven that it's not morally neutral. You even conceded, and now you're still fucking arguing with me on this point.
You added the word needless. I said it was morally neutral to kill an animal.
Look, it's needless.
Again, we disagree.
We established this through the entire fucking conversation, and now you're using this as a fucking excuse. Dude, you're full of fucking shit. We established this during the fucking conversation that it's needless, that you can eat plant foods, and the only reason you're killing the animal is for fucking taste pleasure.
Yeah, and
why the fuck are you using this as an excuse?
Even in a world where we have another viable, sustainable food source, I still don't think I still think it's morally neutral to kill an animal.
How is that morally neutral? To needlessly cause the suffering and death of an animal?
Because it's.
Sorry?
Because it's not a human, it's an animal. We disagree
Okay,
on these
we've
points.
already established that
Yeah,
doesn't fucking matter.
can we not
If
just
it has
respectfully,
sentience, if it has a capacity to feel
can we not
and
respectfully
wants to
disagree
live,
and move
it
on?
doesn't matter. This isn't.
Can we
this
not
isn't just a
respectfully
respectful,
disagree and
no,
move
no,
on?
you're being a fucking sophist. You're fucking
No, I'm not. I
lying
just
and being
disagree with you.
dishonest. Every
I
fucking
disagree with
time
you.
I back you into
I
a fucking
disagree with you.
corner, you just come
I
up with
disagree
some
with
other
you.
stupid lying excuse, and then you want
I
to move over to a
disagree
different
with
fucking
you.
topic. No, you're fucking lying. You're just
I disagree
plain
with
fucking
you.
lying. We're not moving on from this until you fucking agree that you're wrong. So
Well, I'm
look,
not gonna agree
we've
with you.
already established this has nothing to fucking do with difference between human and animal. If you recognize that the animal is sentient, has a will to live, and can experience well-being, and it can also experience suffering, then it produces a net negative to needlessly kill it when there are perfectly viable other food sources.
A net negative to the animal, not to the human population.
Okay, well, guess what? Murdering Jews, that's a net negative to the Jewish population, not the German population. So
But
what
it's
the
a net
fuck are you
negative to
talking about?
But it's a net negative to the human population as a
No,
whole.
it's not.
I mean,
No, it's
we keep
not. It's a
going
net
in
negative.
circles.
No, it massively benefited fucking Germany because guess what? It removed a lot of debt. All of the fucking debt holders were Jewish. So what are you talking about?
Well, in terms of decreasing the population, killing 6 million Jews is a net negative.
No, it's not. No. Well, what? Look, killing people has a bunch of positive effects. Like, again, it removes debt. All of the debt holders were Jewish. So it massively opened up the economy for a lot of people because it got rid of their debt. So now they have a lot more financial options. Murdering people, guess what? It frees up housing. So now housing's cheaper. I could very easily argue that massively killing a number of people would have huge benefits for the remaining people who are still alive. So this fucking argument that, oh, it's not a net negative for the human population, it doesn't fucking matter. Look, it's a net negative, regardless. You're needlessly fucking killing a creature that wants to live. And again, in the hypothetical I proposed to you, where the human being is away from civilization, it's not a net negative to the human fucking civilization. So this still doesn't make any fucking sense.
I've already told you, I disagree, and I don't care. What do you want me to say?
Okay, you know what? Like, dude, you know what? I'm fucking done with the call. That's it. I'm fucking done with this moron. That's the first time I've ever had to fucking walk out on a debate. Look, the dude claimed, the dude, he was the most dishonest fucking sophist I have ever fucking dealt with. Ever on this fucking channel. So he kept fucking doing this thing where, if I come up with some sort of argument, he just makes some stupid red herring and comes up with some stupid excuse. He keeps moving the fucking goalpost endlessly. So at the very end there, he claimed that killing and eating animals for no reason other than taste pleasure, there's no need to do it, is morally neutral. Even though he ended up agreeing that it produces a net negative. So his way out of that was to say, humans aren't the same as animals. That has nothing to fucking do with the claim. If he recognizes that an animal is a sentient being that has a will to live, it can experience pain, suffering, and also well-being, then it's a net negative to kill the fucking animal needlessly, just as it's a net negative to kill a human being needlessly in that same context. So he can't fucking claim that killing an animal is morally neutral, and he kept trying to weasel out of it. He kept fucking bringing up this idea that a human and an animal is different. Well, we've already gone over why that doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter if the animal doesn't feel as much, it doesn't have as much sentience, can't experience as much love, joy, well-being as a fucking human being, it still feels these things. So for the same reason it's wrong to kill a human being in that context, it would also be wrong to kill an animal in that context if you don't need to. You could argue that it's more wrong to kill a human being, but regardless, they're both fucking wrong. Then another way he tried to get away from fucking admitting this, he'd go on about, like, effective animal activism, or how he agrees that, yeah, industrial agriculture is wrong. Doesn't have anything to fucking do with his claim that killing and eating an animal for no fucking reason when there's no need to do so is morally neutral. So I'm fucking done. I'm not going to fucking keep talking with a lying fucking asshole like that, who, when he's backed into a fucking corner, just keeps making up red herrings, tries to change the topic fucking endlessly. I'm done. It's just a total fucking waste of time dealing with an idiot like that. Holy shit. So I'm gonna read this the Streamlabs donations I've got so far. Zach Efron is the best across, donated $2. He said, a vegan gain, you know how this is. Steiner here, you talk about animal ethics. We all know you're a vegan. Please, vegan gan. Address the recent controversy regarding PewDiePie and his offensive speech. Also, please begin from the start, Steiner. I haven't heard about this recent controversy about PewDiePie. I'll have to look into it, but thanks for the donation, Zach Efron. Nightingale donated $2. He said, that retarded pig is infinitesimally more intelligent than people like him. Yeah. I'd have to agree. If not more intelligent, it's at least more fucking honest than he is. But thanks for the donation, Nightingale. Johnny donated $2. He said, if an alien race invaded Earth with a higher level of traits, then would it be acceptable for them to kill and eat us? Well, that's a good point that I should have actually brought up in the debate. But this is a point that I made later on. Just the fact that they are sentient should be enough for you to not murder them. By what level of fucking sentience does something have to have for it to have a right to not be murdered? An alien could look upon us as we look upon animals. Does that give them a fucking right to needlessly kill us just because humans taste good? It's stupid. So if he recognizes the fact that animals are sentient, they have a will to live, they can experience suffering and also well-being, then for the same reason he's against killing a human, he should also be against killing an animal. And he ended up conceding and also not conceding on that. He fucking tried to weasel out of fucking admitting that he was wrong about needlessly killing animals being morally neutral. He kept fucking coming up with red herrings, trying to divert to a different topic, but I wouldn't fucking let him do it. And then, you know what, when it kept going around in a circle like that, I just fucking ended it. But it's beyond stupid. Thanks, Joni. Bruce Lee donated $2. He asks, do you walk on 2 toes? No, I walk on my feet and I use my toes for balance, but I have more than 2 toes. Thanks for the donation though, Bruce Lee. Vegan gains isn't worth atheism is unstoppable's time. Dude, atheism is unstoppable won't debate me because he's a fucking coward. He will literally refuse to debate anyone on any topic. The only debate that he's done recently was against Nick Fuentes, who's a fucking moron. The dude is a crazy fucking fundamentalist Christian idiot, and Nick Fuentes destroyed him in the firearms debate. I've challenged Atheism is Unstoppable not only to debates on veganism, but also firearms. He refuses to debate anyone. The only reason he accepted that debate with Nick Fuentes is because he knew Nick was a moron, but even a fucking moron can destroy Atheism is Unstoppable in a debate. Bailey Audino donated $2. He said, lol, the last thing he says before you end the call, I don't care. It's like, okay, that about sums up the entire idiot's logic right there. Yeah, pretty much. He was by far the most dishonest person I've ever fucking had a conversation with. More dishonest than roaming millennial, ranting monkey, bearing. He was the most lying, dishonest, weaselly fucking guy I've ever fucking dealt with. But thanks for the donation, Bailey. Yeah, so, like, look, again, he claimed that it's morally neutral to needlessly kill animals. Then he tried to say humans are different than animals. We've already gone through that. That's not a fucking reason for needlessly killing animals. It would still produce a net negative, even though humans are different, even if we concede that humans matter more. Then he tried to argue that, oh, you changed the context. I didn't know we were talking about in a needless situation. The entire fucking conversation was established. I mentioned multiple times this was under a needless context, so that was just a fucking lie. Then he tried to fucking just change the topic entirely, go on to effective vegan activism, which is just, again, a way of weaseling out of the fucking conversation, not having to admit he's wrong. And then he just said, oh, I don't care. Well, okay then, fucking conversation over if you don't care. But thanks, Bailey, appreciate it. Does anyone watching have anything else to add? Like, if you, like, I'm not just interested in listening to people who agree with me. I'd like to hear people who disagree with me. That whole debate was just nonsense. I think that was a good point to end on as well, where he was actually arguing that eating meat is morally neutral, killing animals needlessly is morally neutral, because this is the argument he has against fucking veganism. that it's morally neutral. Well, it's very easily proven that it's not morally neutral. He even conceded on the point that industrial agriculture...
What's a good protein-carb-fats ratio?
Okay, I'll get to that question in a second. He even conceded that it is a net negative. It is not morally neutral to produce these animals in the animal agriculture industry. So the only fucking argument he has against veganism is that it's neutral to kill an animal and eat it in and of itself, even under a needless context. So debunking that, it was a really good point to end the debate on. So Chunky B, what's a good protein carbs fat ratio? So if you're doing weight training, like you're focusing on building muscle, 0.75 grams of protein per pound of body weight is something you should aim for, perhaps even more. You can get away with eating a lot less protein, but it seems like the ideal amount of protein intake is about 0.75 grams of protein per pound of body weight. So start there with your protein intake. Roughly around 50% of your calories should come from carbohydrates, around there, and just fill out the rest of your diet with fats, but healthy fat sources. So like nuts, seeds, avocados. Avoid things like all oils you should avoid. It's okay to use some oil with cooking. I'd recommend avocado oil. Avoid coconuts and avoid coconut oil, certainly, and palm oil. Those are two oils you definitely don't want in your diet. So I hope that answers your question, Chunky. Appreciate the donation. Sound Clout donated $2. He asks, what brand of hemp protein do you use? I haven't eaten hemp protein in a very long time. I never ate any specific brand of it. I remember somebody actually sent me a brand of organic hemp protein from Australia to my P.O. box a while ago. I can't remember what brand that was. But when I do have hemp protein, I just buy it from Bulk Barn. I don't think it's any particular brand. I guess you could call it Bulk Barn brand. But that's the type of hemp protein I eat when I eat hemp protein. But thanks, SoundCloud. Can you hold a dictionary at hand and read out the definition of the words that people use? Because some people seem to not understand the words they're using. I mean, that was definitely a fucking issue. Like, the definition of needless, even though I didn't really need a dictionary, we established in the conversation that, okay, he would think it's needless to kill a human being for meat when there are other food options available. So why wouldn't he also say it's needless to kill an animal for food, for meat, when there are other food options available? The definition of murder, that was a big one. Like, these people are just sophists. Mihai McFly donated $2. He asks, could you provide me a link to meta-analyses saying omega-3s unnecessary for human health? Also, considering how dishonest he was, you were pretty gentle with him for most of it. I was being... Look, there's a point at which I just can't fucking take it anymore. And there's a point at which I just can't take it anymore, and he was just being so blatantly dishonest that I just couldn't handle it, and I just told him to shut the fuck up, stop being a dishonest asshole. So, yeah.
How would you argue someone who claims the survival of the fittest weights higher than moral?
How would you argue someone who claims the survival of the fittest weights higher than moral? I'll get to that question in a bit. So Mihai McFly, let me just look through my bookmarks. I'm trying to find the meta-analysis here. Let's see.
I would just ask caller, are animals innocent? Do they want to live? Can we live healthily as a vegan? I would just keep asking those 3 questions. The caller is a boss, and I knew that he didn't care from the start of the debate. Keep up the good work.
Okay, I'll answer that in a bit. Okay, so Mihai McFly, here's a link to a meta-analysis. This is the most comprehensive review of all the research. It's mostly on randomized trials, but what they found was moderate and high quality evidence suggests that increasing EPA and DHA has little or no effect on mortality or cardiovascular health. Evidence mainly from supplement trials. Previous suggestions of benefits from EPA and DHA supplements appear to spring from trials with higher risk of bias. Low quality evidence suggests ALA might slightly reduce CVD event risk, coronary heart disease mortality, and arrhythmia. So I think that's probably the best paper you can find that shows there's not really any benefit to omega-3 intake or supplementation. Obviously, they are essential fats. You should get them naturally through food, like, nuts, seeds, flax seeds, hemp seeds, walnuts, shit like that. But there's no need to, take supplements or eat fish. But thanks for the donation, Mihai.
His argument boiled down to, I disagree. He provided zero arguments or reasons for it, other than it's his personal belief, and that's not a debate. There was honestly nowhere left to go. You gave him way more slack than he deserved.
Yeah, pretty much. Look, very early on in the debate, it was established that he was just making an arbitrary distinction between species for no reason that he could actually fucking give. We provided hypothetical scenarios where if a human being was trait equalized to a pig, he'd be against, killing a human being. And then we gave hypothetical scenarios where some other species was trait equalized to a human, where they had the same level of intelligent sentience, but he'd be against killing that species. So clearly, he cares more about, sentience or those sort of qualities than species. He's just arbitrarily drawing these distinctions just so he has some sort of stupid excuse to eat meat. So really his argument boiled down to, I don't care, I just want to eat meat, I only care about people, which, isn't an argument. And then, again, at the very end, he was in a fucking corner that he couldn't get away from, and then I just ended the debate there. The dude was just being a sophist. But thanks for the donation, Obsidian. Holistic Python donated $5. He says, I would just ask a caller, are animals innocent? Do they want to live? Can we live healthy as a vegan? I just keep asking those 3 questions. The caller is a piece of shit, and I knew that he didn't care from the start of the debate. Keep up the good work. Again, that was sort of... It took until the end of the debate to kind of work on this, but his whole fucking premise really was that killing and eating an animal is morally neutral. There's no reason not to do it. Which is, of course, stupid. He tried to use humans matter more than animals. Well, that doesn't matter. We can still recognize that it's wrong to do it. That he just tried to say...
Third worlder, finding supplements and substitutes for neem products is difficult. Suggestions? While I agree that non-animal diet is the future of humanity, would you agree that global economic viability is more important than ethics for veganism to win?
Okay, I'll answer that in a second. Okay, I've got more.
I understand that due to the fatty acid chain, avocado fat isn't as harmful as normal fat, but is there a limit at which even the avocado fat is harmful?
Okay, I'll get to that in a minute. Holistic Python, then he tried to argue that... Well, then he tried to slip out of the whole fucking argument entirely that, he started talking about, ways to advocate for veganism, which, again, I didn't let him do. And then he just ended up saying, I don't care. So, yeah. But thanks, Holistic Python. So NK donated $6. I'm a third worlder. Finding supplements and substitutes for animal products is difficult. Suggestions. Okay, the only supplement as a vegan that you really need would be B12. That's the only one that I'd say you really need to find a substitute for. You might not even really need to take all that much. There is a certain amount of B12 in the environment. It's not really enough to prevent deficiency. And depending on the person, some people are just better at maintaining B12 levels than other people. I was actually talking to a doctor a while ago who said back in the day, he's a really old dude. He's been retired for a while, but he said back in the day he had a few vegetarian patients who would become B12 deficient. And he said before supplements were actually made, he was really fucking old. I think he was close to 100. He said he had to get vegetarians to eat raw beef liver to cure B12 deficiency, which is pretty nasty. But then he said eventually they came out with B12 injections that they could just give to clients. He said some people would need to get injections every 3 months, but some people who are vegetarian, they only needed to take the injection once every 6 months or to a year. So even if it's a bit difficult for you to get a hold of some supplements, you might not even need to take that much. Honestly, if you live in a third world country, I'm not sure exactly where you're from. I'm sure you can get a hold of like a B12 cyanocobalamin supplement That's really the only supplement you need. As long as you can get a hold of foods like, whole grain rice, beans, lentils, maybe a mix of some vegetables, you should be fine. There's not going to be any significant source of these other vitamins and minerals from meat. So you should be fine. That's my suggestion to you. Just try to get a hold of a B12 supplement, and then for the most part, you should just be able to get food through diet. Now, while I agree that non-animal diet is the future of humanity, would you agree that global economic viability is important, more important than ethics for veganism to win? I'm not so sure about that. I do think, economic viability is really important. That's a huge factor for, pushing veganism forward. I don't know, though. Like, really, if we're going to have this opinion that, well, you know what, it's morally neutral to kill animals, I don't see people ever not doing that. If we're going to have this perspective that it's morally neutral. So no, I think we do need to win on the moral argument, even though, yes, economic viability, it is massively important. Other than that, NK, like, if you really do have trouble getting nutrition...
You missed my donation, but that's fine. I was asking what the best weight loss workouts are at home and if green tea really is a fat burner. Also, if there are any plant foods that can get you into ketosis?
Okay, did I miss your donation? I think I just haven't gotten to it yet. I'm just answering some of the bigger donations first that were text-to-speech. I'll get to yours in a second. But yeah, NK, if you can't get enough nutrition to the point where, like, you'd fucking die, like, again, I don't know where you're living. I don't know if you're in some, like, village in the middle of nowhere, like, and it's just wasteland. Like, look, if you absolutely have to kill animals to survive, then I can sympathize with that, but I think for the most part, even people who live in third world countries, you can live off a 100% plant-based diet. But thanks, NK, I hope that helps. Let me just get through the previous donations. My friend's wife's boyfriend donated $2. He said, "Hey Richard, what kind of workouts are best for weight loss at home? And is green tea a good way to burn fat, or is that not true? And if possible, what foods are good for starting ketosis that are vegan?" Okay, what kind of workouts are best for weight loss? Okay, well, if overall body composition, like improving overall body composition is important to you, then I'd say hypertrophy training, so training with heavy weights but at a high volume, that's very important for weight loss because not only will it burn calories, obviously, but it will also help prevent muscle loss or even promote muscle growth while dieting, and that's important for improving overall body composition. A lot of people who don't exercise while losing weight, they end up like not looking so great by the end of it because, again, they didn't do much to improve their overall body composition. So I'd say heavy weight training at high volume, so hypertrophy style training, that's a very important thing that you should do for weight loss while working out. And cardiovascular exercise, again, just to burn more calories, that's also important. Green tea doesn't really boost weight loss. It's not going to make a big difference. I know there's like randomized, supplement trials on different green tea extracts and weight loss. You have to know that a lot of these trials are funded by the supplement industry. They have an inherent bias. Green tea isn't really going to make a big difference for weight loss. Like, sure, there's health benefits to green tea. You can try it, but you don't expect it to work any, miracles. You're not going to lose an extra 5-10 pounds by the end of a month. And if possible, what foods are good for starting ketosis that are vegan? So you can follow a vegan ketogenic diet. Corey McCarthy, he's a vegan YouTuber, and he has a few videos on following a ketogenic diet as a vegan. I think Ryan Humiston, he actually follows a ketogenic diet as a vegan. I don't recommend, his diet advice, and I was actually planning on making a video on it. He eats a ton of protein powder, which isn't great. So foods that are good for starting ketosis, well, nut seeds, like any fucking nut seed. Walnuts, flax seeds, hemp seeds, hazelnuts, almonds. You can just go through the list of nuts and seeds. Avocados. As far as protein sources, tempeh, Tofu, those are fine sources. Like, again, you can resort to taking protein powders. But those are some, like, nuts and seeds obviously have protein in them as well. Edamame could probably fit within a ketogenic diet. Unless there's a medical reason to follow keto, I'd say don't. It's not great for you. It's not ideal for weight loss or muscle growth. There's a number of reasons. It's not ideal for health, but you can do it. It's possible. If you're just looking for some novel strategy to control hunger cravings, you can do it. And Corey McCarthy has some videos on it. But thanks for the donation, my friend's wife. My friend's wife's boyfriend. Dodo donated $2. Thoughts on people not taking the coronavirus seriously? Well, we've already seen people who don't take the coronavirus seriously, they have a higher risk of death. There was actually a study published where people who listen to Fox News hosts who were like saying who cares about the coronavirus, doesn't matter, they had a higher likelihood of dying than people who listen to something like someone like Tucker Carlson, who was taking it seriously. So people who are socializing, not giving a fuck, they just have a higher risk of dying regardless of age. And like, look, even if it's not going to kill you, it can cause permanent damage to your lungs. It will make you feel like shit. You won't be able to work. It'll cause a loss in productivity. So like, it doesn't make any sense. But thanks for that donation, Dodo. Thor's Hammer donated $5. He asks, how would you argue someone who claims the survival of the fittest weighs higher than moral? So I'm assuming they're saying survival of the fittest matters more than some sort of moral principle. Well, if we're going to argue for survival of the fittest, well, vegans tend to live longer and they have a lower risk of disease. So if you're going to argue this point, survival of the fittest, well, okay, vegans and vegetarians, they tend to live longer and suffer less disease. So following these moral principles... He
started off overconfident, then laughing nervously, then brain being turned into mush. Do you still work out at home? Hope you and Jasmine are doing well and keep making them vegan gains, nigga.
Okay, well, thanks for that donation, Eskan. I'll get to that in a second. So even if you have this principle, survival of the fittest, well, having these moral principles where you're kind to animals, you don't support their suffering and death, it benefits you. So, yeah, survival of the fittest. Well, vegans and vegetarians, they survive the most. They live longer. They're more free of disease. Also, like, if you're gonna go by this principle, like might makes right, well, that could justify fucking anything. It's a pretty disgusting opinion to have. But thanks for the donation, Thor's Hammer. Hope that helps. CM Punk donated $2. He asks, you know that he lost the debate when he said, I don't care. It's the last thing you want to say in a debate. Yeah, pretty much. Like, look, he exhausted all of his options. If he's going to make a stupid claim like this, that killing an animal needlessly is morally neutral, then, like, look, either admit you were wrong and that it isn't morally neutral and just continue the discussion on from there and come up with some other argument for needless killing of animals just because you like the taste of meat. Or just admit, you lost, I'm done, quit. But he didn't do that. He just kept lying, kept trying to weasel out of admitting he was wrong, come up with fucking red herrings and bullshit, and then at the very end, he couldn't come up with anything else, so he just said, I don't care. Well, then, that's it. Debate over. But thanks for that donation, CM Punk. Sun Goku donated $2. If I'm trying to go vegan, but I work in a restaurant that serves animal products, should I quit my job? Also, do you see any correlation to atheism and veganism? Okay, so I've known vegans who the only job they could get was a restaurant job, and obviously the restaurant wasn't vegan. I also know there's quite a lot of vegans who work for like Uber Eats and shit, and they obviously have to deliver food that isn't vegan. Should you quit your job in that circumstance? Unless there's a better opportunity for you, like if you can find a different job that makes like as much money, if you can pay all the bills and everything, then I'd say no. Like, it's hard to find work. I don't think it's reasonable to say that somebody should quit their job just because they have to work with animal products in the job. Like, I don't think anybody should have to go homeless, to not be involved in some sort of industry. The fact that you don't consume animal products yourself is enough. I don't think working in the service industry, like in a restaurant, supports animal suffering at all. You quitting won't save a single animal, so I don't see it being a moral issue. I just say, obviously personally, it gives you stress. So if you can find a job that doesn't give you that sort of stress, then go for it. But I don't think you have any moral obligation to like quit your job, become homeless, for that reason. But thanks for the donation, Son Goku. Bedbunk donated $5. He says, I understand that due to the fatty acid chain, avocado fat isn't as harmful as normal saturated fat, but is there a limit at which even the avocado fat is harmful? So the saturated fat in avocados, it's primarily in the form of short and medium chain fatty acids. It's the long and very long chain saturated fats that actually raise your cholesterol. So you don't have to worry about avocados raising your cholesterol. I'd say, yeah, there is a limit to where you probably don't want to keep eating avocados or avocado oils. They are high in omega-6 fats, and if you have a massive amount of omega-6 fats, then that can cause an inflammatory state in your body. So yeah, there is a point where you want to avoid eating too much fat in general, but I wouldn't worry about the fat in avocado raising your cholesterol. But thanks for the donation, Bedbunk. Dodo donated $2. He asks, thoughts on people not taking coronavirus seriously? I think I already answered that question. Look, people who don't take it seriously, they just have a higher risk of dying. Even if you're younger, coronavirus has killed young people. Why take the risk? There's no point. Even if it will only make you severely ill, what's the point in making yourself severely ill? Pretty much everyone is going to get it eventually, but you should avoid it for as long as you can. Thanks for the donation though, Dodo. Compassionate Vegan donated $6. You missed my donation, that's fine. Okay, so I already answered this. Sorry I didn't get to your donation right away and cause that confusion, but thanks again, Compassionate Vegan, really appreciate the donation. Lil Mao, not Lead, donated $2. He said, Okay. Dude, the Elliot Atwell case, I believe, was reported to the FBI around March 8th. To this current day, Elliot is active on social media and seems to just be living his life back to normal. Why was Elliot not arrested? Did the FBI not take this seriously? I don't know. Either the allegations against him were false or there's just a lack of evidence. I'm not sure what it is. It might have something to do with, the FBI not being able to get a hold of the conversations that he had with these kids. It could be that the allegations against him are false and somebody was just trying to frame him. It could be that, other witnesses just aren't cooperating with the FBI and their hands are tied. I'm not sure. I refrained from making a video on this just because I was waiting to see what the outcome of everything would be. So I have no idea. I don't know what's going on. Elliot would have to make a statement himself about this, so I'm not sure. I'm not going to make a video and report on it because I have no idea what's going on. But thanks for the donation, Lil Mao. Big-titted greasy whore donated $2. He says, hey Richard, what is your opinion on soy? From what I can see, generally soy is fine, but isolated soy, like soy protein, within products raises IGF-1 as much or more than dairy products. Do you know particularly why, or is this wrong? Thanks. So it's mainly because of the branch chain amino acid content. Leucine, isoleucine, and valine, they raise IGF-1 levels. Soy has a lot of those branch chain amino acids, and especially isolated soy protein has a higher bioavailability and everything. So it's going to raise IGF-1. Now, if you have a high protein intake, your IGF-1 is likely going to be elevated regardless of the protein source. So if you're a bodybuilder and you're just eating high protein anyway, I wouldn't really worry about high intakes of soy just because you're going to be eating a lot of protein, a lot of branched chain amino acids anyway. Your IGF-1 levels are probably going to be elevated regardless. I'm also not sure if this would really increase risk of cancer in a vegan. Vegans have a lower risk of cancer overall compared to meat eaters, and that's likely not just because of differences in IGF-1 levels. So soy has anti-cancer benefits. It might negate the, cancer-causing effects of elevated IGF-1 levels. I don't know. I've never seen any research on this, particularly for vegans, so I wouldn't really worry about it too much. But thanks for the donation, big-titted, greasy whore. S. Kuhn donated $5. He says he started off overconfident, then laughing nervously, then brain being turned to mush. Do you still work out at home? Hope you and Jasmine are doing well and keep making them vegan gains. N-word. Yeah, he seemed pretty confident in himself, and then he thought he had Name the Trait debunked, but then he just proved himself, like he argued against himself, that he doesn't care about the difference between species. So Name the Trait worked. It proved that he doesn't really care about species. What he cares about is actual important things like sentience, ability to feel, and what have you. So using species as an argument was nonsense. And then he really fucked himself over by making the claim that killing and eating an animal for no reason other than taste pleasure, needless killing, is morally neutral, because then I could just easily prove that it's not morally neutral, and then he just wouldn't concede on that. And then, yeah, all that happened where he just acted like a complete sophist and tried to get weasel out of admitting he was wrong. But thanks for the donation, S. Kuhn. Desiderata donated $3.83. He says, G'day, mate. Surprised you didn't end the call sooner, the obnoxious coward. Love how he tried to use Jamie Oliver's idea to have a vegan day. Like, what the fuck? I'm pretty sure COVID is afraid of catching him. Keep up the awesome work, guys. Look, this is the type of mental gymnastics you have to go to saying that it's totally fine to needlessly kill animals. Like, they're sentient beings. They have a will to live. Any normal, well-functioning human would be against, killing a fucking dog for those same reasons. He even admitted that he'd feel bad seeing any animal getting killed. It's like, if that's how this makes you feel, then, what the fuck could your justification be? He ended up just relying on species, and then we fucking ended up proving that species isn't a differentiating factor here that matters at all. And then, I proved that, it's just morally wrong to do this. It results in a net negative outcome to needlessly kill these animals, and then he wouldn't admit it. He just acted like an asshole. But thanks, Dustare, to appreciate it. Navy donated $2. He asks, 3 best years of your life, 3 worst years. 3 best years of my life, I'd have to say it's been these last 3 years, living with Jasmine. That's not to say it hasn't been hard, but these would have to be the 3 best years. 3 worst years of my life, probably I'd have to say 3 years I spent in high school would have to be the 3 worst. So yeah, but thanks for the donation, Navy, appreciate it. Injecting Lysol donated $2.16. How do you plan to convince people of your arguments if you keep putting your foot through their fucking face until there's nothing but blood and pulp on the fucking pavement? Well, I think you just answered your own question there. Why would I have to convince them if they're nothing but blood and pulp on the pavement? It's just a joke, obviously, but look, this idea that I have to be nice to people is horseshit. If my arguments are sound, that's all I care about. So if they can't be convinced with reason and logic, and I have to treat them like whiny, spoiled children, then clearly they're never going to be vegan. They don't care about these things. They just want an excuse. But thanks, Injecting Lysol. NK donated $2. Thanks for your answer. I just know firsthand that empathy for other humans, let alone animals, isn't a good phenomenon, which is why I believe that global veganism can happen only through global economic viability. Do you think that humanity will become vegan in the next 100 years? I'd say in the next 100 years, absolutely. Hopefully it's sooner. Obviously, if it's not economically viable, it won't ever happen, but it is economically viable right now. Again, if you look at the United Nations recent climate report, Chapter 5, page 76, they detail how going 100% plant-based, not slaughtering any animals, it would actually improve food security. We'd have more food resources and use less land than we're currently using today by the year 2050. So it is economically viable, and we, right now, I'd say, have to win the moral argument and convince people that it is, in fact, economically viable. But thanks for the donation, NK. Kami Fructose donated $2. He asks, I was wondering if you would want to set up a debate. I messaged you on Twitter under this username. I'm not vegan, but I do agree with a lot of your arguments. There are some arguments I have that you have not addressed in any video. DW, I am good faith. Okay, so I'll try and find your message on Twitter. Just make sure you have a debate proposition. I want a debate proposition set up. And then, sure, we can set up a debate in the future. But thanks, Kami Fructose. Chris Dombrowski donated $2. He says, doesn't care, but wanted to debate you about something he doesn't care about. Clearly cares, but he got lost in his own train of thought that were full of contradictions. Good job letting him go off on red herrings. He clearly lost. Or not letting him go off on red herrings. Yeah, look, he really, really fucked himself over by making that statement that killing animals for no reason is morally neutral. That's where he really fucked up. The name the trait stuff, he was good at weaseling his way around the topic, but eventually, just using name the trait, we proved that he doesn't care about species. What he really cares about are these meaningful qualitative differences like sentience, intelligence, what have you. And then he just ended up fucking up completely. He just kept crashing and burning harder and harder as it went on. But thanks, Chris. Animal Farmer donated $2. He asks, do you think that it will turn out that athletes need less than 1.6 grams protein if it only comes from plants? Probably not. Right now, there's pretty good evidence that the amount of protein an athlete needs on a vegan diet is about the same. I'd say in all likelihood, as future research goes on, it might be more, but right now there's just a lack of randomized trials. We need more randomized trials comparing people on a 100% plant-based diet and people on an omnivorous mixed diet, seeing who's able to make, more muscle growth, body composition changes. Right now, we don't really have those randomized trials, but we do have data on protein digestibility between plant and animal foods. It's about the same. And it seems that when you look at large populations, people who get most of their protein from plants, they don't have any less muscle than people who get most of their protein from animal products. So, but we do need more data to confirm it. Thanks for the donation, though, Animal Farmer. Chunky B donated $2. He says, your Frank Tufano streams and vids are hilarious. Yeah, they're some of my best work. Making fun of Frank, criticizing him, it's pretty fun. But thanks, Chunky. Animal Farmer donated $2. He asks, is it a good strategy for bulking if you eat healthy and as much as possible? No, not as much as possible. So if you want to go on a bulk, and first you should establish whether or not it's even necessary to go on a bulk. Like, you don't really need to gain fat necessarily to build muscle. So look, if you're an advanced athlete, the only way for you to really make any progress is to gain a little bit of body fat, then, go ahead. But, no, eating as much as possible, you'll just get fat as fuck. You should control your diet and only gain what amount of body fat is necessary. So eating as much as possible is just stupid. You're just going to gain more weight than is necessary or useful. But thanks for that donation, Animal Farmer. Jamnina Jam Ninja donated $2. He asks, do you drink soy milk? Are there any testosterone side effects, and should I just drink almond milk instead? I do drink soy milk. Two primary reasons is that I'd argue soy milk is the best milk for you in terms of health, and it also has more protein in it. There aren't any negative effects on your testosterone for drinking soy milk. I think there's 2 meta-analyses currently where consumption of soy or soy isoflavone supplements did not have any feminizing effects in men, didn't lower testosterone, didn't raise estrogen, didn't cause any side effects like, again, lowering of testosterone, like man boobs growing, nothing like that. So soy milk is totally safe. I'd recommend it. I think it's better for you than almond milk because you're getting the benefit of soy isoflavones. They're really good antioxidants, and you get more protein, more overall nutrition. But thanks, Jam Ninja. Hope that helps. Animal Farmer donated $2. He asks, are raw bars considered whole foods? Let me look this up. Raw bars. I don't think I haven't heard of these. I don't think I'd consider them whole foods technically because they do have chocolate in them. Let me see if there's a nutrition label that I can look at. Ingredients: organic cashews, dates, sunflower seeds, agave nectar. Well, that's not a whole food. Spirulina powder, flaxseed. So it seems like some of them do contain some sort of sweetener like agave, which isn't a whole food. Or let me see. Looks like one of them had chocolate in it. Organic cacao processed with alkali. So, okay, it looks like it has cacao nibs or something in it that is Dutch processed. So they're not technically a whole food, but for the most part they are. They are sweetened with what I'd consider a processed sugar, agave nectar. They're not the worst, bar you can have. By far, they're definitely better than Cliff Bars. But thanks, Animal Farmer. Hope that answered your question. Lil Mao, not Lee Mao, donated $2. He said, all right, last donation about Elliot, but dude, Elliot literally admitted to doing these accusations in a text to one of the people that exposed him. Can you check your messages on Twitter and give it a quick read? Okay, sure. I'll look into it. FBI investigations can take a long time, and if they suspect that he's still doing this, they might be waiting for him to do this to another kid just so that they have more evidence against him. I don't know what's going on, but I'd wait before making a video on this because I just don't know about the situation. But thanks, Lil Mao. Animal Farmer donated $2, said go to 325, clip from a few days ago. Clip after the Wilkes versus Cresser debate. Amazing. 325.
They're legitimately planning ahead. You want to stay alive.
Mm-hmm. They say,
ass.
this, but
use a hose.
Beans, corn, and rice is that's what I read was a enough vitamins and everything you need. So
sure, you don't get enough protein that way, but you get some from beans.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
It's just not as available. It's not as bioavailable as it is.
Oh my god. Okay, you know what? I think I might do a video on that, but this is literally after the Cresser debate where fucking James Wilkes proved that plant protein is damn near as bioavailable as plant protein. That's fucking insane. But thanks, Animal Farmer. Joe is fucking thick-headed, dude. Like, holy shit. Animal Farmer donated $2. He asks, can you get fat on whole food, plant-based diet? Yep, you can. If you eat more calories than you take in, you can certainly get fat, especially if you're sedentary. It's harder, for sure, but you can do it. It is achievable. Thanks for the donation, though, Animal Farmer. That vegan Yam donated $2. He asks, what are your thoughts on intermittent fasting? I just started 2 weeks ago, and it helped me deal with my BED. I'm assuming bulimic eating disorder. I follow a 16:8 window. Just a second.
Have you seen Frank Tufano's vids about the 5 grams towers, Wi-Fi, and the end of the world? Would love to see a response to all of that.
I'll get to that in a second. So thoughts on intermittent fasting. Right now, I don't think there's any good data indicating that intermittent fasting has any metabolic benefits for weight loss. We need metabolic ward experiments to confirm that. Right now, we just have some randomized trials, and even though randomized trials are good under these circumstances, it's not a controlled environment, so it's hard to really say if there are, in fact, metabolic benefits to intermittent fasting. Now, with that said, there could be, what is it? There could be, why can't I find this word in my head? There could be diet adherence benefits. That's what I was looking for. It can control hunger cravings. It can control cravings for, like eating at a certain time of day, like if you've already eaten all of your calories for the day, but for some reason you get super hungry at night. Well, like training yourself to only eat within a certain feeding window, that can help. So you said it helped you with BED. I don't know what that is. I'm assuming it stands for like bulimic eating disorder or something. Don't expect it to like have any metabolic benefits for weight loss or anything, but as far as diet adherence benefits, it can help. But again, that's going to be highly individual. Some people who do intermittent fasting, they feel hungry constantly and they hate it. Some people who do it, they love it because they don't ever feel hungry. It really depends on the individual. But thanks for the donation, that vegan yam. I hope that helps. Desiderata donated $2.55. Morons like this might make Penguinz0 showers come out of the woodwork and debate you. Especially if you keep meeting people like this twat. I asked every other virus on the planet and they confirmed that they're staying away from him. I've got a few people who want to debate. I think I have another debate set up for tomorrow, so I've got quite a few Penguinz0 fans that want to debate, so this is probably going to be a long series, but thanks, Desiderata, appreciate it. DeVille donated $2. He says, hey man, one thing I've always wanted to talk to you about is the concept of hypocrisy and morality. This topic has popped up a lot in your videos addressing Penguinz0. I messaged you on Twitter with a similar message. I also left my Discord ID there. Okay, I'll look through my Twitter messages and respond. But thanks for that donation, DeVille. I'll just check after the stream. J. Drubnitz donated $5. He said, have you seen Frank Tufano's video about the 5G towers, Wi-Fi, and the end of the world? Would love to see a response to all of that. Yeah, no evidence whatsoever that Wi-Fi and 5G towers are a threat to human health. It's non-ionizing radiation. Now, that's not to say non-ionizing radiation can't be harmful, but when you're looking at research on like something like lab rats, the amount of radiation they're exposed to, it's not realistic.
Hi VG, question on bearing hops. Do hops influence estrogen in the body? Or is that just a myth?
I'll get to that in a second, and I actually have an answer for that. When you're looking at experiments on 5G or Wi-Fi, and these rodent experiments, it's not a realistic scenario, for one thing. They're blasting Wi-Fi, 5G, this non-ionizing radiation literally right next to these rats. Unless you're sleeping literally right next to your router, or you have your phone on and it's like streaming something and you're doing that for several hours, that's not a realistic scenario. And secondly, the density of the radiation, so you can actually measure radiation not only in terms of wavelength, whether it's ionizing or non-ionizing, but you can also look at it in terms of density of exposure. If you only, like, let's say your whole body mass, it takes up, I don't know, 1 cubic meter of space. Well, if you only have one particle going through that cubic meter of space, it's not really going to do anything. Now, if you have like billions of these particles going through that, 1 cubic meter of space, that's a lot different. You're going to be, your body and its tissues are going to be exposed to a lot more radiation. And again, that's another aspect to these tests on animals. The density of radiation exposure is a lot more than what you'd encounter in real life. In real life, you're only going to be bombarded by a few particles, and these experiments they're bombarded by a lot more particles. Also, a lot of these tests on 5G, Wi-Fi, they involve directly exposing tissues to this radiation. That's also stupid because, again, you have a skeleton, you have you have multiple layers of skin and tissue in your body. So for it to even fucking do anything to you, it has to pass through all those layers. So there's no good evidence that 5G Wi-Fi does anything. Frank has also even claimed that the coronavirus doesn't exist. It's not even like a disease. He's saying it's just like Wi-Fi. And then I remember another video where he said you can't even transfer the coronavirus from human to human. Frank is coming up with a lot of horse shit that he has absolutely no fucking evidence for. He's also made posts about, oh, this is the end of the world, martial law is going to be enacted. Like, dude, there's been other major diseases that have killed more people than coronavirus. 1918 flu, for instance, the bubonic plague. Look, during these times of mass pandemic outbreak, these quarantine measures have been enforced. It's not like this is the first time this has ever happened. So what he is doing here is he's doing the Alex Jones thing, basically, just trying to get attention. He's just being dramatic so he can get attention. But thanks for the donation. I don't know if I'm going to make a response to any of these conspiracy theory videos. Maybe I will. Big-titted soy eating whore donated $2. He says, hey Richard, when cutting, around how much weight do you lose per week/month? Also, if you don't mind me asking, when you were really lean a few years ago, how much did you weigh? Thanks, love you. So ideally you want to lose around 1% of your body weight per week. You don't really want to go too much over that. Weight loss should not be too slow, but it shouldn't be too fast. You end up having issues with diet adherence, issues with tracking your weight, issues with just mental stability, issues with performance. So around 1% of your body weight per week is ideal. And let's see. If you don't mind me asking, when you were really lean a few years ago, how much did you weigh? I think I was 185 when I first started my channel and I was really lean. Right now I'm about 230. I think I could get down to around 205-ish, like probably close to 200, if I wanted to get that lean again. I've put on quite a bit of muscle. But thanks for the donation, big-titted soy-eating whore. Appreciate it. Poophead donated $2. He said, I heard that Dr. Greger was getting bullied for having cucumbers up his ass and was offering them to girls. Haven't heard of that. That claim seems rather dubious. I'm going to have to see some evidence for it, but don't think there's anything wrong with putting cucumbers up your ass and offering them to girls. I mean, he's asking, right? So he's asking for consent. Don't see any issue with that. It's a little weird, but don't see any problem with it. Thanks for the donation, though, Poophead. Angry Dimitrodon donated $7.50. Hi, Vegan Gains. Question on beer and hops. Do hops influence estrogen in the body, or is that just a myth? No, it actually does. So hops does have estrogenic effects in men and women. Now, the way hops is processed in beer, it actually makes the phytoestrogens literally hundreds of times more potent than the phytoestrogens you find in soy. And the phytoestrogens in hops are different. They bond to the alpha receptor in breast tissue, whereas the phytoestrogens in soy bond to the beta receptor. So the beta receptor, it actually turns off cell growth and proliferation, whereas the alpha receptor turns on cell growth and proliferation. So the hops in beer, it actually does cause breast tissue growth. It does make women's breasts grow larger. Women who drink a lot of beer, they end up having breast growth. The There are even breast-enhancing supplements that contain hops, and they do work. They actually make breasts grow. And it does have the similar effect in men, where it will also cause breast tissue growth. Also, beer is associated with greater risk of breast cancer compared to other forms of alcohol. So that, again, kind of gives more evidence to the estrogenic effects in hops. So yes, beer does have estrogenic effects in the body, the hops, and it can actually even cause breast growth. So not good. It's a good idea to avoid beer. But thanks for the donation, Angry Metrodon. So that's not a myth. It's actually true. Thomas donated $2. He said, "You did a great job in that debate, Richard. The guy was a dishonest moron who made a complete fool of himself in front of everyone who watched. And we'll see this. You got worked up, so go for a walk with Jasmine or something to take the edge off after that." I think I shall. But appreciate it. I'm actually surprised, considering the amount of people watching, that I'm not getting more people saying that you're a fucking idiot, you were rude, fuck you vegans, you're wrong. But thanks, Thomas. Appreciate it. 6 donated $2. He asks, was the most shredded you ever were in your profile picture? Will you ever get super shredded like that again for one last hurrah? Yeah, that was the leanest I had ever been. So in my profile picture, my YouTube profile picture, that was when I was preparing for a bodybuilding show. While I was vegan, I'd already been vegan for a few years before I did that. No, I'm never doing that again. That was absolutely fucking miserable. Never doing that again. I couldn't get an erection. Even when I saw like really sexy women, I was like, just because my testosterone like tanked. I remember like only one thing like was actually able to turn me on before I stepped on stage, like a week before the bodybuilding show. A friend of mine sent me this porn video where Lexi Bell finally did an anal scene, and that was the only thing. Like, just I don't know, like Lexi Bell at the time was one of my favorite porn stars, and I guess the novelty of it, her doing anal for the first time, like that actually got me aroused. But I remember like my testosterone levels were totally fucking tanked. I just wasn't my fucking self. I was this crazy, miserable, fucking deranged human being, and I just hated it. So no, I'm never getting that lean again. I'm planning on dieting and like getting abs and shit, but no, I'm never gonna get that lean again. It's just too crazy. But thanks for the donation, 6. Lil Mao donated $2. He asks, "What's your thoughts on Greg Doucette's video on David Lade's 72-hour fast? If you watched it, Greg was basically against it and said it was a stupid idea, but one of Dave's friends made a response."
All right, so
Okay, I'll save this. I'd have to agree with Greg. If there's no medical reason to fast for really any length of time, I'd consider a 72-hour fast a prolonged fast. If there's no medical reason to do it, you shouldn't do it. It's just a stupid idea. But I'll take a look at the video, take a look at Greg's response, see if, I can maybe make a video out of it. But thanks for the donation to Lil Mao. Toby donated $2. He asks, "Do you like cucumbers?" Yes, I actually do enjoy cucumbers with my salad. Thank you, Toby. Desiderata donated $3.19. He asks, "Just wanted to thank you again for doing what you do, guys, including Finn. Also, out of interest, would you debate Milo Yiannopoulos on abortion? He wiped the floor with Jay Peterson during their various debates recently. People seem to underestimate him." Jay Peterson. You mean Jordan Peterson? Jordan Peterson's a moron. He's a terrible, awful fucking debater. I'd be more than happy to debate Milo. That'd be great. I've heard he's come on the Discord with Ask Yourself and everything. So yeah, I'd be more than happy to. That'd be pretty funny. But thanks for the donation, Desiderata. Appreciate it. Okay, so it looks like that's it for all the Streamlabs donations. Thanks for everyone for checking out the stream. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully, for those of you who aren't vegan, maybe you learned something, changed your opinion. Again, the debate platform is open to anyone who can give me a proposition against veganism or in support of eating animals. Don't care, especially if you're a fan of Penguinz0, because that's an ongoing thing right now where Charlie's fans are saying I'm an idiot. So especially if you're a Penguinz0 fan, I'm especially interested in debating you on veganism. So just message me on Twitter if you want to debate. Big thanks to everyone who donated in Streamlabs. Really appreciate it. And as always, keep making those vegan gains.